Sunday errands, grocery list on my phone, rotisserie chicken or drive-through tacos. Nothing special. I remember the soft drum of wipers and the smell of hand sanitizer on my fingers. Then a flash of metal, a hard white bloom. Airbags. Silence that swallowed every sound. No screech, no scream. Just glass hissing like dry sand. I hung upside down by the seatbelt, a puppet in a ruined theater. My name is Rowan Lee, 32, the reliable one. That's what my family calls me when they need something. When they don't, I'm too intense. That afternoon, I learned which one mattered. Someone pried the door. A voice asked if I could hear them. I nodded because words felt far away. Blood slid into my eye. Metal on my tongue. A paramedic's palm pressed my shoulder and told me not to move. I listened. Later, a doctor said that probably saved my lung from a puncture. I believed him. I didn't feel lucky. I felt untethered. The hospital smelled like old air and bleach. I counted ceiling tiles to keep the panic small. Dislocated shoulder, 2 fractured ribs, mild concussion. Mild, they said, like it was a paper cut. I couldn't lift a cup of water without shaking. They asked who to call. I said no one. It wasn't bravado. It was an experiment. I didn't know I'd been running for years. If I stop carrying everyone, do they notice the weight drop? Hours turned into a dim soup of pain meds and beeping monitors. Nurses came and went with practiced calm. A physical therapist, who looked 15, taught me how to breathe so my ribs wouldn't lock up. I did as told. Each breath felt like prying open a jammed door. On the second night, I turned my phone back on. 27 unread messages lit the screen. For half a second, I felt seen. Then I opened the family group chat. It wasn't about me. My sister Lena, 26, in a silk robe, grin wide, holding a flute of something pink. Caption: Vineyard Wellness Weekend. Another photo, mud mask. Another, infinity pool at a rental with glass walls and white towels folded like swans. A table of sushi-matched robes sprinkled rose petals, self-care babes. Mom commented on every picture. You glow, honey. You deserve this. Dad dropped clapping emojis he learned last year. No one asked where I was. No one asked why I'd gone silent. I stared at those photos while iodine stung my skin and plastic tubing tugged my arm. It felt obscene, like I was watching a party through the window of a burning house mine. For a second, I wondered if I'd forgotten to tell them I was hurt. I hadn't told anyone. I wanted to see who would notice I'd gone quiet. No one did. 3 days. The nurses learned my name. The lady from transport brought me a better pillow. An older man down the hall moaned through the night. I learned where the cafeteria hid the decent coffee. My family learned nothing. I thought about all the times I'd been their answer. Late-night transfers for Lena's rent just this once. Mom's balance on a card I co-signed for points. Dad's brakes replaced because the shop guy's a crook. I kept receipts in a folder named housekeeping, which is honest in the ugliest way. I was the housekeeper. I kept everything tidy. By day 4, they discharged me. No driving, no heavy lifting, the nurse said, like my whole life hadn't been heavy lifting. I rode home wearing the hospital gown under a hoodie because I couldn't stretch my bad shoulder into clean clothes. The rideshare driver cranked the heat for me without asking. A kindness so small it made my throat sting. In my apartment, I lowered myself into the chair by the window and didn't move for a long time. The city was a gray watercolor. I felt invisible and strangely safe. I slept like a rock pinned to the bottom of a river. When I woke, I finally flipped my ringer back on. 64 missed calls stacked like warnings. Most from Dad, some from Lena, 2 from Mom. No voicemails, of course. Just a text from Dad at the top: call us back now. It's serious. My chest tightened. Serious could mean a hospital. Serious could mean a death. My body remembered the crash and braced. I called immediately. He picked up so fast it felt like he'd been holding the phone pacing, waiting for my name to light his screen. His voice wasn't angry. It was tight. "Ro, we've been trying to reach you." I said nothing. I let the silences settle. Silence is a kind of truth. He started talking. Fragments. Lena's rent declined. Her card kept failing. Mom's bill pay bounced. Then the bank flagged something and locked her secondary. Their words rolled together like a landslide. "We think your accounts are messed up," he said, careful. like he was laying down boards over a swamp to reach me. I listened. I pictured Lena with a face mask on chin, tilted toward the sun, as she held a glass of champagne. I pictured Mom's cursive comments and Dad's emojis. I pictured their hands always open, palm up, and me, the ATM with a heartbeat. I could have told him then. I could have said the sentence that would split our story in half. I froze everything, but I didn't. Not yet. I let him keep explaining the problem like I didn't know its source, like I wasn't the source and the solution both. When he ran out of words, he sighed the way he does when he wants me to volunteer before he asks. It's an old rhythm. It used to work. Before I answered, the accident replayed in a flash, that soft, terrible hush after the airbag. The paramedic's hand, the ceiling tiles, the group chat flashing with toasts while my IV beeped. Something inside me shifted. The part that fixes, the part that rushes, the part that calls the bank, apologizes for the overdraft I didn't cause, and pays the late fee with a joke to make it lighter. That part finally sat down. Dad, I said, just his name. My voice sounded steady. It felt new. He waited. I could hear a TV in the background, muffled, and the scrape of his shoes on tile. Talk to me, son. He only says son when he's scared, or when he wants something. Sometimes both. I will, I said. But you're going to listen first. Silence again. The kind that makes people fidget. He didn't this time. Maybe he felt the ground tilt like I did. Maybe he knew something was ending and didn't have words for it yet. I told him about the wreck, the flip, the blood, the nights alone, the nurse who held my cup as I drank, the physical therapist who counted my breaths, the photos of Lena at the vineyard, the slow scroll of comments, the brightness of their day laid over the dim of mine. I didn't dress it up. I didn't cry. I wanted facts to be enough for once. He inhaled like he'd been punched. Why didn't you tell us? You didn't notice I was gone, I said. That's why. He started to explain. He reached for soft words. Your sister's been anxious. Your mother's had a lot on her plate. He tried to make it sound like a misunderstanding we could all laugh about later. My shoulder throbbed. The hoodie scraped the gauze. It helped me stay cold. I'm not calling for comfort, he said finally. We just need. There it was. We just need. The sentence our family is built on. The sentence that always ends with my wallet, or my time, or my patience. I could feel the answer forming like a stone in my mouth. Heavy, final. Dad, I said again, listen carefully. I'd thought the crash would be the worst part of my week. It wasn't. The worst part was realizing how quiet life could be when you stop being useful. The best part was also realizing that. I cleared my throat. I decided in real time to choose me. And I drew the first line I'd ever drawn with them. What I said next turned our little family economy to dust. And it was only the beginning. Listen carefully, I said. I am Dad answered. His voice was thin, afraid but proud enough to hide it. I shut it all down, I told him. Every card with my name, every backup transfer. The joint savings Lena borrowed for a week 2 summers ago, gone. Locked. Silence. A long one. I could hear him breathing through his nose, quick and shallow. Why would you do that? He asked. Like I'd stolen our family dog. Because I was upside down in a car, and you were clapping at selfies, I said. Because I could have died, and all you would have noticed was a declined brunch. He started to defend them. Of course he did. Your mom's had headaches. Your sister is fragile. We didn't know. You didn't look, I said. That's the point. Another silence. A TV clicked off. Maybe he went into the hallway so Mom wouldn't hear. What do you want from us? He asked. Nothing, I said. That's the change. He didn't yell. That surprised me. He went quiet in the way men do when they realize the ground under the house is mud. Okay, he said finally. Oi? He hung up without goodbye. I stared at my phone. My apartment hummed with the old heater. Outside, a bus coughed and moved on. I waited for regret to bite. It didn't. Only my ribs did. I made eggs. One-handed clumsy. The pan slipped and clanged. I laughed once short and ugly. The sound bounced off the cabinets and came back lighter. I ate standing up because sitting hurt. Then I opened the laptop. This is what I'm good at, not drama. Systems. I started a spreadsheet. Left column account names, next owner, role, status, notes. I typed with my good hand. I made calls. I waited on hold. The music was always cheerful. I wasn't. Hi, I need to remove an authorized user, I said 12 times that day. Could we ask why the reps would say, because I'm done, I answered. I kept my voice polite. I didn't explain the hospital, the photos, the thin quiet of that room. People believe paperwork more than pain. By noon, I had a new PIN, new passwords, fresh security questions that no one in my family could guess. No more favorite teacher or first car. I chose answers only I could hold. Things I haven't told anyone. The title of a poem. The street I cried on alone. A bank manager named Suri called back about an old joint card I'd forgotten about. It's still open, she said, careful. Charges paused by fraud monitoring last night. Last night, I asked. My scalp went cold. What time? She read the timestamp. Right around when Dad texted, call us now. My fingers curled. Close it, I said. Flag it. Note that I requested the closure. I want a record. Understood, she said. Do you need resources for identity protection? Maybe, I said. Send them anyway. I put Suri in the spreadsheet under Revealer with a question mark. I didn't know yet. It felt right. A knock. 2 short taps. My neighbor Maya peered through the door glass like a raccoon in a hoodie. We'd traded plants last spring and never really talked again. I saw you carry groceries with one arm, she said. And you looked like you were going to pass out. Can I help? I'm okay, I lied. She craned her neck and saw the hospital bracelet on my wrist. You're not, she said. Let me wash those dishes. You direct. I wanted to say no out of habit. Take care of it myself. But the crash had knocked that habit loose. Okay, I said. She rolled up her sleeves and started a sink full of hot water like she'd been my friend for years. You have family, she asked over the faucet. Technically, I said. Maya didn't push. She hummed and stacked plates. She set out 2 mugs, poured tea, and sat on my floor because I couldn't sit at the table yet. Here's my number, she said, sliding her phone with a new contact open. Use it if you need rides, or soup, or someone to curse at. I'm a great cursor, she grinned. It was the first easy thing that day. After she left, my phone vibrated. Lena, why did you kill my card? Then, hello. Then I have rent due. I didn't answer. Minutes later, Mom Bank is behaving weird, can you look? Like I was her IT guy. No. How are you? No. I heard about the accident, just the problem at hand. I put both messages in a folder. Evidence, I named it, even though nothing legal had happened yet. It calmed me to file. I lay back and breathed through the ache. Memory unspooled. Not the hospital. Older things. The first time I co-signed for Mom. I was 22. She cried in the dealership office and called me her steady boy. I signed because that's what steady boys do. The night Lena guessed my passwords as a joke and squealed when she got in on the 3rd try. We laughed then. I changed nothing afterwards. I was busy and nothing bad happened yet. That was the pattern. Little floods that never reached the furniture. I told myself the floor was fine. Looking back now, the floor was never fine. It was wood swelling slow. Dad texted again that evening. Let's be calm, he wrote. We're family. I typed and erased a dozen replies. I settled on none. I put the phone face down. The next morning, Suri called again. Mr. Lay, she said. A note you asked for the attempted charges came from the same device as a previous purchase at she named the spa resort Lena had tagged all weekend. My jaw tightened. Would you like to open a fraud case? Yes, I said. My voice was flat. Document it. I'm not pressing charges right now. I want the record. Understood. Her tone shifted warmer. I'm sorry. People do the closest, stupidest thing when they panic. Stupid is generous, I said. After we hung up, I added bank log shows device match to the spreadsheet. Facts, calm, brick by brick. At noon, I had a televisit with a clinic doctor. She wore purple glasses and told me to nap twice a day, avoid screens, and ask for help. I nodded. I didn't tell her my help had been rerouted back to me. I dozed and woke to 31 notifications. Lena again, shotgun blasts of text. I'm humiliated. They said my card was stolen. Fix it now. Then a photo of her at a counter, face red, eyes glassy. She'd sent it to the family group and to me directly, as if I worked there. Mom followed. Sweetheart, I don't know what you're upset about, but freezing everything is cruel. Cruel! The word twisted. I put that message in the folder too. Dad called twice. No voicemail. I wished for once he'd leave words instead of empty rings. Words can be held up to the light. Rings are ghosts. I texted one person, Eli, from work. We used to trade weekend on-call shifts. He's the kind who notices when you say fine and your mouth twitches. Car wreck, I wrote. I'm okay, family not. He called. Tell me the short version, he said. I gave it. He exhaled a sound that was half curse. You're not crazy, he said. You're changing the rules. There. The validation I didn't know I needed until he said it. If you need rides, I'm 10 minutes away, he added. Or I can bring soup. I make a mean lentil. Maya's got soup, I said. Good, he said, pleased. Then I'll bring trashy magazines. For recovery. I laughed for real. It hurt. It was worth it. That night, the group chat lit up again. Mom dropped a link to an article about radical forgiveness, with a quote highlighted in yellow. We can move forward when we accept the past, she wrote. Past as if the accident was ancient history and not 4 days old. As if my bank activity from this morning was Stone Age. I clicked her profile out of reflex. A fresh post glowed at the top. Keep our family in your prayers. Some people act out from pain. We're choosing love. The comments piled up under it. Hearts. Praying hands. One woman wrote, You're such a strong mama. My stomach turned like I was back in the spinning car. I didn't reply there either. I screenshotted and filed it. I was building a quiet wall of facts, not for a courtroom, for myself, so that when they said I was harsh, I could hold up the wall and remember why. Before bed, I stood in the dark and scanned my living room. It felt different, not safer yet, just mine, not a staging area for rescue. I plugged in my phone. It buzzed once more, a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out. A minute later, a text came through. Rowan, it's Aunt Vi. I heard something. Call me, I want to check on you. Aunt Vi lives 3 bus lines away. We're not close. She knits monsters for charity and once told Lena to buy cheaper shampoo. She also has the eyebrows of a hawk. She sees what people try to hide. I stared at her message. For the first time since the crash, something like relief moved in my chest. Someone had looked. Someone outside our little triangle of need had asked a question. I wrote back, I'm okay, we can talk tomorrow. Tomorrow would be the day I learned how deep the rot went. Tomorrow would be the day Vi told me what Mom had said about me, and what she'd found in a drawer at my parents' place that didn't belong to them or to her. I didn't know the details yet. I only knew the feeling. The floor swelling, the nails loosening. The house we pretended was solid starting to whisper. I turned off the lamp and let the room go quiet. My body throbbed in time with my breath. It hurt to inhale. It hurt less to exhale. In the dark, I promised myself something simple. No more explaining my pain to people who prefer my money. No more translating myself into a language they only speak when desperate. Tomorrow, the truth would walk in on its own feet, and I'd be ready to let it stay. I called Aunt Vi the next morning. She answered on the first ring like she'd been sitting with the phone in her hand. Coffee shop on Birch and 7th, she said. 10 minutes. I can't drive, I said. I'll come to you, she said. Stay put. She showed up in a quilted jacket and sneakers hair in a messy bun, a thermos under one arm, and a brown paper bag under the other. She hugged me carefully, chin on my good shoulder. The bag smelled like ginger and scallions. I brought congee, she said. You can reheat it. First the talking. We sat at my tiny table. She took out her phone, scrolled, and slid it across the wood. Photos. Envelopes with my name. A credit card mailer with the peel-off activation sticker still on. A typed personal loan agreement with blanks for my signature and Lena's. Interest 6%. Family terms. Witness line empty. Where did you get these? I asked. Your mother's dining room, she said. She asked me to help sort the mail yesterday. I saw your name on a stack. She said, That's nothing. I don't ignore nothing. I took pictures. My mouth went dry. So they requested a replacement card to their address. Looks like it, she said. And this one, she tapped the loan paper with a knuckle, was in a blue folder labeled contingency. There were more. More what? Notes, password ideas. Your old school, your first pet the street we used to live on. Someone had written possibilities with check marks. I think Lena guessed until something worked. My stomach flipped. I saw her at 14 laughing when she cracked my email as a prank. I saw myself at 22, not changing a single thing. What are they saying about me? I asked. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Vi's face softened. Your mother posted that you're acting out from pain and that they're praying for your heart. She told me you had a burnout, that you're making radical decisions because of stress. She leave out the car crash. She never mentioned it, Vi said. When I asked how you were, she changed the subject. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling until the edges of the room steadied. Thank you, I said. The words felt small for what it was. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Rowan people will make a story if you don't give them one. You don't owe them a performance, but you owe yourself the truth. If you want me to say what I see, I'll say it. Say it. You were the rope, she said. They climbed you like a ladder. You cut the rope. Now they call it a fall. Simple. Precise. It slid into place like a puzzle piece I'd been holding upside down. My phone buzzed. An email from the bank new credit inquiry detected. A furniture store I'd never set foot in. My jaw clenched. I forwarded it to Suri with a single line, not me. Another thing, Vi said. Your father looked tired. Not just worried. Quiet. I don't excuse him. He knows more than he says. But he isn't steering this. Your mother is. Lena is desperate and loud. Your mother is calm and planning. Manipulator. The word rose like a buoy. I need to go over there, I said. Get anything with my name on it, every stray card, every envelope. You can't lift, Vi said. I can ask for rides, I said and texted Eli. He responded with a thumbs up and shoes on. Maya knocked a minute later, like she had a sixth sense for trouble. Field trip, she asked. Recon, I said. Parental house. She tied a scarf around my neck without asking. You look like a crime podcaster, she said. In a good way. Eli drove. The sky was the color of a sink full of old dishwater. My parents live on a quiet street with neat hedges and those solar lights that look like little moons at night. My ribs throbbed with every bump. Gravel crunched when Eli pulled in. The sound made something in my chest shake. I told my body to keep it together. Dad opened the door before I knocked. He looked smaller. He always seems smaller when there's no audience. Ro, he said. He glanced at Maya and Eli. Honey, drivers, I said. We won't be long. He stepped aside. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and last night's garlic. The rug in the hallway had a new ripple in it. Mom hates imperfections like that. It looked like even the carpet had stopped obeying. Mom came from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel like a TV mom who makes casseroles for church. She wore lipstick. That told me she was performing. Sweetheart, she said, arms open. You look pale. She leaned in to air kiss, and I stepped back. The towel slipped from her hand, hit the tile, and crumpled like a little white flag. I'm here for my mail, I said, and pointed at the dining room. Anything with my name. And every card you've received that belongs to me. I'll wait. Her smile held a beat too long. Of course, she said brightly. We were going to bring them to you. I'm here, I said. My voice sounded calm even to me. I thought of ceiling tiles. I thought of the crash's quiet. She walked to the buffet cabinet and opened a assistant top drawer. She shuffled envelopes. She took out a small stack. It looked too small. I could see blue file tabs in the lower drawer. All of it, I said. She paused. Then she pulled the lower drawer. Manila folders. Tabs labeled Utilities Insurance Taxes Contingency. I met Vi's eyes. Vi raised her eyebrows once. Mom hesitated. Then she slid out contingency and put it on the table. You're making a big deal out of mail, she said. Light like we were discussing napkins. I opened the folder. Loan agreement. Copies of my driver's license. My old signature cut from another document and taped onto a page like a craft project. A yellow sticky note. Ask Jay to notarize. My skin went cold and hot at the same time. Where did you get this? I asked, holding the photocopy of my ID. The edges were crooked like someone had pressed the lid with both hands. You sent me a photo years ago, when I booked your passport appointment, Mom said. Her tone floated on innocence. I keep things in case of emergencies. What emergency involves my signature taped onto a new form, I asked. She didn't blink. We were going to show you. It's for Lena. A formal agreement so you don't feel taken advantage of. Protection for you. A line snapped in my head. Not a loud snap. A neat, sharp one, like scissors at a ribbon cutting. Where's the new card, I asked. She opened another envelope. The card slid out, my name shining. She held on to it half a second too long. Then she set it down like it burned. Dad, I said without looking away from her. Did you know about this? His eyes dropped. I knew about the rent, he said. Not the paper things. Paper things, I almost laughed. I need a box, I said. I'm taking everything with my name. If you text me about money again, I'll block your numbers. If you try to open anything in my name, I will file. I won't warn you twice. Mom's lips parted. That's cruel, she said. Same word as her text. She liked that word. It turned me into the villain and the door into a stage. What's cruel, I said evenly, is planning alone in my name while telling the internet to pray for my heart. Her face flickered. The mask slipped just a little. Enough to see the steel underneath. You're not well, Ro, she said softly. Everyone can see that. This is a phase. When you calm down, I laughed. It came out short and bright. I'm calm, I said. That's the new problem, right? Eli came in with a flattened moving box. He didn't speak. He didn't look at anyone too long. He started folding like an EMT on a scene, quiet, precise. Maya stood by the doorway and watched Mom like she was a cat near a cake. I filled the box with envelopes and folders. I took my name back piece by piece. Insurance, taxes, bank mail. The contingency folder went in last. The weight felt right in my arms, heavy, honest. At the bottom of the drawer was a notebook with a floral cover. Lena's handwriting, big bubble letters. I flipped it open. A list. Rowan's security cues. Street we lived on, equal Birch ask Mom. First pet, equal goldfish. Name check, FB. Teacher is Ms. Tran, middle school. Favorite poet, E.T. Under that, a messy heart around Tri-Sisters bidet poem. I held it up. This is a crime, I said. Not loud, just clear. Mom reached to snatch it. I pulled back. She wasn't fast enough. Give me that, she said. The sweetness was gone. The room felt colder. No, I said. This comes with me. Dad put his hand flat on the table. Not a slam, a lay down. Enough, he said to Mom. His voice was low, like he was talking to a skittish dog. Let him take his things. She turned on him like a switch. You don't get to talk now, she said. You let this happen. He looked like someone had opened a window, and the air was colder than he expected. He didn't argue. He stepped back. I slid the notebook into the box. I closed the flaps. Eli taped them shut in one neat stripe. The sound was clean and final. At the door, Mom tried one more time, soft and sad, her best dress. Families forgive, she murmured. Families notice, I said. Families ask where you are when your phone goes dark. Her eyes flashed. We didn't know. You didn't look, I said, and stepped out into the bright gray. On the porch, the air smelled like rain and cut grass. My ribs ached. The box dug into my hip. Eli took it from me without a word. Maya looped her arm through mine gently. Halfway down the path, Dad stepped onto the porch, hands in his pockets, like a kid sent outside. Ro, he said. I'm sorry. Then do better, I said, not turning. Not for me, for yourself. In the car, my phone buzzed. Attempt to activate card by phone failed. Voice ID mismatch. I smiled without humor. Suri was fast. Back home, we set the box on the floor. The room felt different, safer. Not safe, safest. Safer. I made tea. Eli unloaded a stack of trashy magazines like he'd promised. Maya found a pot and warmed the congee. We didn't mention the drawer, the loan, the notebook. We talked about a terrible movie where a guy fistfights an alligator in a department store. I laughed, winced, laughed again. Later alone, I opened up more, the contingency folder, and laid everything out, fact checks in rows, tape lines, signatures. I photographed each page, uploaded them to evidence, added dates, and who said what. A raft built from pieces of the ship that sank me. A new number pinged before midnight. Rowan, it's Josh. We haven't met. I used to date Lena. She says you lost it and ruined her life. I don't buy it. Can we talk? The revealer. I didn't expect knocking. Tomorrow noon. Birch and 7th, I texted back. I was done with their story. Time to write mine in permanent ink. Shad. Josh was already at Birch and 7th, with a paper cup and a wrinkled apology on his face. Older than in Lena's photos. Honestly tired. I'm not here to pick sides, he said. I'm here because something's off. Start with what you know. He slid over screenshots, group texts with names I didn't recognize. Mom Rowan's having a breakdown. Pray for him. Lena. He froze my life to punish me. Then a DM to Josh. Could you talk sense into him? He respects you. She asked me to apply for a card with you as co-signer, he said. Said you'd come around if I got the ball rolling. I told her no. Then she mentioned a notary, Jay, who does favors. A sticky note flashed in my head. Ask Jay to notarize. Anything else? Yeah. He grimaced. They hit a furniture store yesterday. Lena said she had pre-approval. Your name came up at the desk. I left. Felt wrong. My phone vibrated. Suri. Mr. Lee, she said. 2 people are here trying to activate a replacement card on your profile. Mother and daughter. The mother matches your emergency contact. I can deny by phone or you can come in. I looked at Josh. He raised his palms. Go, I'll drive. The bank hummed pens on chains, gray square carpet mints in a dish. By the window, Mom composed. Lipstick perfect. Lena frayed sunglasses perched like a slipping crown. Between them, a thin smiling man in a tie who wanted to be anywhere else. Suri stood when she saw me calm, crisp. Sweetheart, you look pale. Sit, Mom said, hostess bright. I'll stand. This is harassment, Lena snapped at Suri. We're family. For the record, Suri said to me, you're the only account owner. I know. My voice was steady. Bank Air makes everything feel like policy. Rowan Mom cooed, we're activating the card you requested months ago. You forgot. We're helping. I set the contingency folder on the desk on my side. The jagged photocopy of my license. The loan agreement with the taped signature. I didn't push them over. I let them mark a border. You keep these in your drawer, I said. My security answers. A plan to notarize a loan in my name. Her eyes stayed sweet. Only her hands changed fingers locking around her purse. He's not well, she told Suri. He's had a shock. He's lashing out. Suri didn't blink. The tie man coughed and shuffled pointless paper. This is where you say families help each other, I said. That you meant to protect me. That I'm cruel. We can skip it. You tanked my rent, Lena hissed. They said my card was stolen. At the counter. It was, I said. By you. She barked a laugh. So dramatic. I turned to Suri. Please record that I denied this activation. Add the photocopy and notes to the fraud file. Done, she said, typing. I'll add a branch incident note. Include names. Yes. Mom's smile thinned. You're not pressing charges, she said. You're just angry. I'm not pressing charges today, I said. I'm protecting myself every day. Outside, the sky was an expensive blue. I noticed it. Proof my brain had room for more than defense. Any cards with my name, I told Lena. She dug in her tote and slapped down 2. Happy! I looked at Mom. She hesitated, then fanned one more from behind receipts. We were going to return them, she murmured. Now you have. I breathed deep. My ribs flared. Pain is honest. Your options, I said quietly. 1 stop, no more attempts, no more breakdown stories, no more notaries. 2, keep going. If you do, I file no arguing, just documents. You wouldn't do that to your own mother. You did this to your own son. The tie man fled. Suri stayed very still, very present, a witness in a neat blazer. You're destroying us, Lena whispered. You know I'm sensitive. I know you're resourceful, I said. Use it for yourself. We were scared, Mom said, voice tiny. So was I said. Upside down in a car. You were at a spa. Tears started graceful practiced. I didn't offer a tissue. New behavior. We're done, I said. It didn't slam, it clicked. Suri printed a form and turned it to me. Signed to remove all authorized users and place a hold on new requests. My hand shook once, then steadied. I signed. You'll regret this, Mom said softly, blessing and curse in one breath. Maybe, I said, but I won't forget. They left in a drift of perfume and static. The ordinary lobby returned. A kid at the candy dish asked for 2. 1, now 1 later, his dad said. The kid bargained for 3. Innocence has a volume. It tightened my throat. Suri slid a folder to me. Copies and my direct line. If anything else happens, call me first. Thank you. 2 words that weren't small. Outside, Josh waited with hands jammed in his jacket. How bad? Real, I said, and over. If she calls, I tell her to stop. Then I block. We stood a moment, our reflections faint in the glass ghosts of the old script. I felt empty and clean like a room after you pull down a heavy shelf and sweep the holes. Hey. At home, a text from Dad I didn't know. I see it now. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. Apologies run on a different clock than change. An hour later, Lena's landlord rent unpaid. 5-day warning. I set the phone face down and breathed. In, out. The world kept going. A knock Maya with Tupperware and a tiny jade in a mug. For your window. Low maintenance. Perfect roommate. Good, I said. I'm trying to need less. How'd it go? I said we're done, I told her, and I meant it. Then we eat. We ate on the floor, congee soy sauce, a sliced egg. The spoon clicked. The heater rattled. My shoulder ached. My chest felt light. Just after midnight, an unmarked envelope slid under my door, a blurry printout of an attempted transfer from an old backup account. $900. Denied. A last grab. A reflex. A machine finally learning my no. I dated the page, filed it under evidence, and added a fraud alert with my case number. No speeches, just forms. The apartment settled into the good, quiet walls at rest. I brushed my teeth, touched the purple bruise at my temple, and said, we're done. Morning was logistics new, SIM blank voicemail, credit frozen PO. Box, physical key, 2FA storage canceled. Aunt Vi brought a shoebox, pre-filled notary form, talking points in Mom's hand, sealed final notice envelopes. I'm okay, I said. You're clear, she answered. A wellness check came and went, unfounded, documented. My boss forwarded concern for employee and added, ignore the noise. Take time. We've got you. Josh sent friend thread screenshots. Distance shrank the words. Dad met me at the park, handed me my spare key, said he wouldn't make me the rope again. A prayer night fizzled, basket light, questions heavy. The landlord removed me as guarantor. Mom mailed a payment plan. I filed it. Silence on purpose on. I packed. The notary Jay texted he'd declined to do a favor. I exhaled. I moved to a small studio with a cranky lemon tree. On the fridge, 9-year-old me with a sagging balsa bridge and the ER wristband I finally cut off. Then and now. New rhythms, the barista who sings to her milk frother. A bus always 5 minutes late. A cello at 6 that turns the walls into a soft drum. Therapy gave names, fawn enmeshment, parentification, so I'd stop blaming the air. I wrote an emergency plan and a note that begins, believe yourself first. 2 months later, the bruise faded to yellow. The jade pushed a new leaf I named Boundaries. Dad brought oranges and signed up for digital safety for seniors. We laughed. Clean. Sometimes grief still comes like fog. I read my note. Kindness without consent is servitude. You chose consent, and the room widens. I stood one evening at the crash intersection, fresh paint, plastic flowers on the pole. No screeching, just a city minding itself. I thanked the strangers who helped and myself for drawing a line. Inside my bowl cabinet, a creed. I'm not a rope. I'm not a bank. No is a sentence. Silence is a choice. Love without respect is theater. Help freely given is a gift. Demanded help is a tax. I choose gifts. I choose myself. On the first warm Saturday, I repotted the jade. New soil, more room. A lemon fell rolled into my shoe. I laughed. My ribs didn't mind. My mother hasn't apologized. Maybe one day, maybe never. That isn't the prize. The prize is a phone that doesn't spike my pulse a Sunday, with a walk and a bowl friends who bring soup instead of a sermon. The prize is quiet that isn't empty. If your stomach knots. Reading this asked the question that moved me. When your phone goes silent, who shows up without needing anything from you? Draw your line there, then hold it when the tide hits. Story 2. I'd never have believed I'd be back at Lake Travis, standing in my kitchen, while that old familiar dread knotted my stomach. The sunlight was pale through the blinds, dust motes drifting like ghosts. My name is Vivian Grant, 32 software engineer at Clearview Tech in Austin, and 2 minutes ago I booked a ticket home. My phone buzzed. Caller ID Mom's podcast. I swallowed hard. Last time I saw her, she was recording a promo for Family Matters with Sophia, talking about healing old wounds. Healing. The word made me laugh bitterly. My daughter Mia, 5, in her unicorn pajamas, peeked around the corner. Mommy, what's wrong? Her big brown eyes blinked sleepily. I knelt, gave her a hug so tight her little arms squeaked. Nothing, sweetie. You get dressed and we'll bake pancakes. My voice trembled. She smiled and darted away. I watched her go thinking you deserve better than this. I moved to Austin 3 years ago, ghosting my family after that last barbecue. My parents, Martin and Sophia, kept urging me back, calling me the stubborn one. They never apologized for the way my sister Haley shoved me into the pool when Mia was 2, soaked me head to toe, then laughed as I yanked Mia from the water. Or how they filmed it all on drones live streaming to Sophia's podcast subscribers as a harmless prank. They called it fun, I call it betrayal. That day, I vowed never to return until now. I turned on the stove, the blue flame flickering. The egg smell made me think of simpler times. My college apartment with hand-me-down furniture, long coding nights with Lena, my security engineer friend, sipping coffee, debugging code and dreaming big. My life in Austin is clean. Mia's preschool, my team's tech sprints, weekend hikes in the hill country. Yet here I was buying new clothes for a family reunion that ended in tears, humiliation, and a broken promise to protect my daughter. The ringtone pulsed again, family matters. I stared at the display, Sophia's voice cheerful. Sweetheart darling, are you coming BBQ at the Grant House this Saturday? Everyone's invited Martin Haley Owen, even Lena if you want. I'm featuring the reunion live on TechCrunch's Equity podcast. Live! My pulse thundered. TechCrunch Equity is huge, millions tune in for startup gossip. They'd broadcast every embarrassing moment. I let it ring. The voicemail beeped in, please say yes. We need you. Need me. They'd never needed me before. I turned, pressed the burner off, then stared at my reflection in the black stovetop glass. My face looked pale, too pale. Wrinkles at the corners of my eyes, the stress line across my forehead. If I go back, they'll see all this, my single mom struggle, the freelancer gaps on my resume. They'll seize on every flaw. But if I don't go, what then? Abandon my daughter's chance to know her grandparents. Let them think we hate them. The guilt made my chest ache. I grabbed my laptop. Code editor, still open on a half-finished feature. 10 pull requests waiting for review. I typed BBQ into my calendar, Saturday 11 a.m., then deleted it. I typed again, delete. My finger hovered over accept. My heart hammered, I'm going back. Saturday morning arrived with a pastel sunrise. I dressed Mia in her favorite yellow sundress, sunflowers printed on it, and pulled her hair into 2 braids. I wore a navy sheath dress, professional but not flashy, and slipped on silver hoops my dad gave me at graduation. Mia admired us both in the mirror. We look pretty, she said. I nodded, hugging her. We loaded into my sedan, her pink booster seat, my reusable water bottle in the cup holder. I took the road up to the Travis Hills neighborhood, where my parents' house sat white stone with blue shutters overlooking the lake. As we climbed the winding driveway, I felt that old familiar sinking, like walking into a storm. The gate opened automatically, a drone hummed overhead. Owen, my brother-in-law, waved from the deck, camera in hand. He wore a Hillcrest Ventures baseball cap. My sister's husband only cared about his portfolio. Owen's grin died when he saw Mia. Hey, kiddo! He lowered the drone, landed it with a whir. Mom said to get ready for the live stream. My mother, Sophia, stood by the grill microphone clipped to her collar. Her hair was perfect, cheeks glowing. She wore a green wrap dress, echoing the lake's teal. Vivian, she called, voice bright enough to echo off the water. My girl arrives. And Mia, come here, sweetheart. Sophia swept Mia into her arms, kissed her cheek. Look at my little bird. Martin, my father, dressed in a Hillcrest polo, tucked his phone into his pocket. He must have noticed my stiff posture. He nodded curtly, no hug. My stomach clenched. Behind them, Haley laughed with her friends, tech bros in startup hoodies, showing off her promotion at Hillcrest. She looked radiant, as if she belonged, while I felt like an outsider. Mom urged us toward the picnic table. The spread was elaborate barbecued brisket, avocado salsa, gluten-free, cornbread, craft sodas. I forced a smile as Sophia introduced me to her podcast engineer, some Silicon Valley celeb visiting Austin. They chatted about my amazing career pivot, which sounded like code for poor judgment to leave reliable VC world. Mia toddled off, chasing a butterfly. I followed, heart pounding. Up close, the Travis water stretched endless, reflecting white sailboats. A family like mine on the surface, perfect grandparents, siblings, in-laws, blithely sipping rosé, clinking cans. But I remembered the times they let me drown in shame, falling behind in code reviews, watching them cheer for Haley. Today, they'd cheer for Haley again, the golden child daughter of the firm aligned with their power and prestige. I bent to Mia, brushing lavender paint from the butterfly's wings. She pointed excitedly at a small sign, Drone Zone. Owen's camera scanned the yard, capturing every smile, every frown. If I screamed now, stop recording the world would see my fear, my anger. The podcast would chart every moment, my stumble over the uneven stone path, my awkward laughs, the way my dress clung in the summer heat. They'd dissect my life, broadcast my weaknesses. I straightened. Time to stand my ground. I put one hand on Mia's shoulder, looked out at the lake. A heron stood still by the reed symbol of patience and survival. If that bird could wait out storms, so could I. I squared my shoulders and stepped forward into their circle. "Welcome, Sophia," said her voice smooth. "I'm off the mic now, unless you want to say hi to everyone watching Equity Podcast." Haley glanced over, smirk on her lips. Finally, the prodigal makes her appearance. Laughter rippled around. My cheeks warmed not from shame, but from rage I'd spent years burying. I opened my mouth to speak, but words caught in my throat. Behind me, the drone drifted closer, light reflecting off its lens. I realized then I'm live. Every word, every tremble of my voice will air out to millions. The sky felt heavier. Gravity pressed on my chest. My pulse roared as a slow-motion panic rose. And then I saw it. Mia, white dress now splattered with salsa from Dad's sloppy guest, stood trembling. Haley, standing nearby, laughed and flicked her wrist, sending a gush of hot sauce across the picnic bench and oh God onto Mia's yellow dress. Time froze. A hush crashed over the party. My world narrowed to that moment, hot sauce dripping Mia's wide eyes, the drone's red recording light blinking. I took a step forward, heart pounding. This was not happening again. Cliffhanger. As the hush lingered, I reached for my mother's microphone voice, barely above a whisper. "Stop. Just stop." The drone's propellers slowed, and I realized I was about to expose them, all of them, to the world. The moment Haley's hand flicked that fiery sauce across Mia's sundress, time fractured. The drone's gentle whir froze mid-hover like a question with no answer. My heart slammed against my ribs, breath caught. I lunged forward without thinking, yanking my daughter from the bench. Her eyes were wide, tears threatening. The hot sauce sizzled on her pale yellow dress, steam rising in the summer sun. I felt the sting of betrayal sharper than any spice. "Stop the recording!" I shouted, voice raw. My words rippled through the stunned silence. The podcast engineer's finger hovered over Go Live. Owen's jaw dropped. Even he hesitated. Sophia's polished smile froze. She looked torn between hostess mode and horrified mother. Martin stepped forward, concern replacing his earlier pride, but his shock still held the weight of unspoken rules, family loyalty above all. I knelt beside Mia, brushing sauce from her arm. Her little hand clenched mine, and I thought of every promise I'd made to protect her. My voice was low but fierce. "Mia's not a toy for your entertainment." Haley's eyes flicked with annoyance, then surprised this wasn't the obedient sister who'd taken every jab without protest. A tremor ran through me as I realized how long I'd silenced myself. Sophia cleared her throat, reaching for the mic. "Vivian, darling." Her darling felt like a scalpel. The drone creaked forward again, a mechanical bird circling overhead. I glanced at the heron by the reeds. Its poised stance reminded me that sometimes you must stand perfectly still before striking. I stood, squared my shoulders, and looked everyone in the eye. "This isn't a harmless prank. It's reckless." My words carved through the chatter. "You film my child's misery for clicks. You laugh while she cries." I turned slowly to Hannah Price, the visiting podcast engineer, a stranger with polished glasses and a headset. "Do you really think your listeners want to hear a mother defending her daughter from her own family?" She swallowed. The red recording light blinked, and then she tapped the mixer and cut the feed. The silence felt like thunder. Sophia's lips parted, and Martin stood there, vulnerable, unguarded. The guests shifted uneasily, the laughter gone. Even the breeze over the water held its breath. Haley scoffed. "Oh, come on, Viv. Don't be dramatic." She brushed past me, heels clicking on the stone. It was a joke, but her voice cracked a slip that revealed her own shame. I caught a glimpse of doubt in her green eyes. The mask was slipping. I knelt again, kissed Mia's forehead. Her tears had dried, but the stain wouldn't wash out. I felt a twist of anger and sorrow. This was the legacy they were handing her. "We're leaving," I said softly. "Now." She nodded against my chest. I stood, took her hand, and walked away from the picnic table past the scattered plates and silent guests. Owen stepped in front of me, reaching for my arm. "Viv, wait!" His voice was urgent, more brother-in-law than intruder. I stopped, looked at him. "Don't!" He let go, eyes tight with regret, as if he'd never meant for it to go this far. We crossed the lawn toward the sedan. The drone followed a silent witness. I opened the door, slid Mia inside, and paused. My gaze drifted across the gathering, my sister's smug entourage, my parents' stunned faces, the drone's red eye. I thought of Lena poring over security logs back home, searching for proof. I thought of the reporter in Austin American-Statesman who emailed me about last year's token scholarship scandal at Hillcrest, hinting at dirty secrets. Everything pointed to one truth: my family protected their image at any cost. I closed the car door gently so Mia wouldn't hear the metallic click. She sat quietly, clutching her doll. I ran a hand through my hair, lips compressed. The air felt heavy with unsaid words. Behind me, Sophia's voice floated, "Vivian, please." But I stayed silent, started the engine, and pulled into the winding drive. As we drove down the hill, I felt the weight of their expectations slip away. The lake receded behind us, the drone's siren call fading. Mia babbled about the butterfly. She saw her laughter, a fragile echo of innocence. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror and smiled, though tears pricked my eyes. "You're safe now," I whispered. At home, I shut the garage, lifted Mia onto the countertop, and started the kettle for tea. The kitchen felt small but comforting. Sunlight streamed through the windows, painting the counters gold. Mia traced shapes on the tile. I handed her a cup of water, then sank onto a stool, head in hands. The phone buzzed, a text from Lena. I watched the live feed. "Are you okay? I've got everything: drone footage, podcast files, even the edited promo where Sophia called you stubborn. We can wipe them out." Her words were a lifeline. I tapped back, "Yes, we need to talk." My heart hammered with adrenaline. Lena and I had promised to expose Hillcrest's shady scholarship deals, links to Martin's portfolio. Now I had an even bigger story: my own family's betrayal. The lines between personal and public blurred. Could I really turn them into a cautionary tale on TechCrunch equity? I rose, wiped my eyes. My reflection in the window looked tired, determined. Tomorrow I'd meet Lena at the co-working space downtown. We'd sift through the logs and footage, build a case. But tonight, I'd tuck Mia into bed, read her that story about the brave heron who wouldn't take flight until the moment was right. I'd teach her what I'd just learned: sometimes you don't run. You wait, you watch, and then you strike. I checked the clock, 6:47 p.m. I had hours before a decision had to go live. My phone lit up again, this time a notification from Family Matters. Sophia had posted a teaser: Vivian's surprise return to the Grant BBQ tune in this Saturday, several thousand views already. The comment section buzzed with hashtags, #FamilyDrama, #GrantGate. My pulse roared. The world was watching, and I'd either let them control the narrative or I'd write my own. Cliffhanger: as I reached for my laptop, the screen glowed with an incoming video from Lena. "You need to see this now." I clicked play, and my breath caught. There on the screen was footage I never gave her: a hidden camera from last year's startup retreat, showing Martin arguing in a tone far uglier than he'd ever let on. The image froze on his furious face, and below the date stamp, October 12, 2023, the same night he'd claimed to be in New York. Seconds later, Haley handing him an envelope thick with money. My blood ran cold. They'd lied for years, and I held the proof. I stared at the frozen frame, my father's face flushed with anger, mid-argument, fist clenched on that polished conference table. The date stamp glowed: October 12, 2023, exactly the night he'd told everyone he was flying to New York. Beneath him, Haley slid an envelope across the table. My breath caught. That envelope wasn't charity money. It was hush money. I let the playhead roll. The video, grainy shot from a corner camera, Lena found in a forgotten folder, captured every word. "This stays in our family," Dad hissed. Haley's sly smile said it all. My hands trembled as I forwarded the clip to Lena. She pinged back. I'm pulling the original file uncompressed. We'll verify audio. If we can sync it with phone GPS logs, it's airtight. I sank onto the couch, Mia's coloring book strewn around me, feeling the jigsaw pieces of betrayal click into place. I'd suspected Dad's financial misdeeds, Hillcrest's scholarship scandal, but this was worse. He'd lied under oath. My heart pounded with purpose. Tonight, I'd decide, do I expose a father and sister, or do I let them keep poisoning my daughter's future? I booted up my laptop and juggled Windows, the uncompressed video, a GPS log export from Dad's company credit card, and a spreadsheet Lena sent of Hillcrest's financials. The pains felt like a courtroom. I traced the timeline. Dad's card was swiped at a private airport lounge in Austin that night, proof he never left Texas. And back at Hillcrest, internal docs showed a mysterious family fund account that Haley accessed 3 times in the past year, each time around $50,000. My pulse hammered. They'd been skimming from the very investors they pitched to. The kettle clicked off. Mia's chorus of, "Mommy, I'm hungry," jolted me back to reality. I opened the fridge, leftover roasted veggies, and warmed them. She bounded in hair-wild cheeks rosy. "Better?" I smiled weakly. She nodded, chomping. I pressed her hair behind her ears, tasting the metal tang of adrenaline. "Okay, sweetie, let's get you to bed." She bounced away. Once her door clicked closed, I exhaled, leaning against it. My reflection in the glass stared back, dark circles, jaw clenched. I thought of that heron by the lake, silent, watchful, and felt a kinship. It didn't flee storms, it survived them. At 9 p.m., I met Lena at Converge CoLab, the downtown workspace, humming with startups. We settled into a glass-walled booth, glowing with neon notes. She slid me a coffee and grinned. "We've got concrete proof." The envelope was stamped, Hillcrest Ventures Povet. First time I've seen that designation pop up. She tapped a data drive, and I cross-referenced Dad's passport scans, no New York travel. Corporate cameras confirm he was in office. She paused. "If we tie this to the recent scholarship scandal, we can show a pattern. They siphoned investor funds, hid it under family needs. The public will be furious." My throat tightened. "What about Sophia?" Her face softened. "She's complicit. She kept my invitation email on her podcast invite list. She knew you'd embarrass them." My chest clenched. My mother had spun me, returning as a feel-good reunion, all while broadcasting my vulnerability. "They never saw me as family," I whispered. Lena patted my hand. "Tonight we draft the expose. Tomorrow we reach out to TechCrunch. You'll be on Equity as guest. That platform's huge. They'll run with this lead." I nodded, typing furiously an email draft to Sarah Jacobs, Equity producer. Subject: exclusive Hillcrest family fund scandal and personal betrayal. I attached a summary footage, frames financial spreadsheet, GPS logs. My finger hovered over send. I swallowed. "Are you sure?" Lena said. "Once this goes public, there's no going back. They'll come for you." I closed my eyes, feeling every betrayal wave through me. My parents who preached the American dream, yet rigged the game. My sister who smiled for the camera while pocketing investor money. This was bigger than family. It was justice. I hit send. The email whooshed away. My phone buzzed. "Sarah Jacobs has read your message." My heart froze. If she replied with interest, it could drop as early as tomorrow morning. Investors would panic. Hillcrest's stock would plummet. My father's distinguished image would shatter. And my family, they'd be catapulted into a public trial. I walked home under the halogen streetlights, the city quiet at 11 p.m. Neon signs flickered, open mic night, late night tacos. I passed a poster, Austin Tech Symposium tomorrow. I thought tomorrow I'd be center stage in my own reckoning. I unlocked my door, saw Mia's teddy bear perched on the couch, and a sticky note on the fridge. "Good night, Mommy." "I love you." My throat tightened. I pressed the note to my chest. I owed Mia the truth, but at what cost? Sleep eluded me. At 3 a.m., I sat by the window, city lights shimmering on rain-wet streets. My mind raced. What if Sarah ghosted me? What if Dad buried the story with a lawsuit? What if Sophia gave a tearful apology on air, spinning herself as the victim of a harsh daughter? The screensaver went dark. I closed my eyes, willing dawn to break quickly. At first light, my inbox chimed. "Vivian. Let's set up a call. Story looks solid. Equity is in. My breath caught. I felt both triumph and dread. I dressed carefully, tailored blazer, dark jeans, silver hoops, and packed my laptop. Mia stirred as I kissed her cheek. "Mommy's big meeting today," I whispered. She smiled, clutching her unicorn. The car felt heavy as I drove downtown. I rehearsed my opening lines. I never imagined I'd expose my family's betrayal on national tech TV. The river of traffic crawled. I glanced at the dashboard clock, 8:42 a.m. My equity segment was at 10. At 9:15, I pulled into a parking garage. Lena's text lit up. "Meet me at the Equinox lobby in 5." I clicked out of the garage, eyed the skyline piercing the morning haze. The Frostbank Tower loomed, a symbol of old Austin wealth, now overshadowed by new glass giants. My family clung to that old money, but tech was my currency. I trusted the code, the data, the public's hunger for truth. They'd built walls. I'd found the cracks. I checked my phone. An alert from TechCrunch Equity wants a heads up. "Can we confirm you'll go on air in 45 minutes? My fingers shook. I typed, "Yes." Then a late message from Haley Viv. "Please don't do this, we can talk." My breath hitched. She knew. She'd seen the email. My sister, the golden child, was scared. Would she beg, threaten, or finally show remorse? I tucked my phone away, stepped onto the sidewalk toward the Equinox. People bustled by, business suits, morning joggers, coffee in hand. Everyone chasing success, the next big break, their own version of the American dream. Mine was about truth. I walked through the revolving doors, scanning the check-in desk. Lena waved from across the marble lobby, face set with determination. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, an email from Equity. Subject: urgent, change in lineup. Segment moved to radio instead of video. "Are you comfortable?" I stared. Radio without video footage, could I prove anything? The thought struck like frost without the clips and the visuals. Dad's denials could sound plausible. Without the image of my father handing over that envelope, the story might fall flat. My pulse thundered: live video or radio. Either way, I was walking into the storm. I took a deep breath, straightened my jacket. I met Lena's gaze across the lobby. She raised an eyebrow, as if matching my fear with resolve. I pulled out my phone, typed, "I need visual. This has to be video." The seconds stretched, my heart in my throat. Outside, the Texas sun climbed, promising a scorching day ahead. Inside, my destiny waited: exposure or exile. Cliffhanger. Lena's thumbs hovered over my response. Then across the lobby, I caught movement: a suited man heading straight for us, badge clipped to his belt. My breath stalled as he approached, eyes locked on me. "Ms. Grant, I'm Agent Ramirez from the FBI. We need to talk." Agent Ramirez's badge caught the fluorescent lobby light. His gaze was steady, no judgment, only purpose. "Ms. Grant," he said quietly. My heart pounded so loud I was sure he heard it. Around us, startups hummed, headphones and heads down. I cleared my throat. "Yes." He introduced himself, FBI Financial Crimes Division. The words felt cold, precise. My mind reeled. Today was supposed to be TechCrunch Equity, not a federal summons. He gestured down the corridor. "We need to talk privately." Lena and I stepped into a glass-walled conference room. She gave me a small nod, solidarity. I perched on the edge of the table as Ramirez laid out the case. Hillcrest Ventures was under investigation for defrauding investors. He slid a folder across. Inside were internal memos, emails from Martin designating family fund assets as off-books. "Your evidence aligns," he said. "We'll need your testimony and the uncompressed video files." My pulse hammered. The FBI meant serious consequences: indictments, jail time. I stared at the memos, feeling both vindicated and terrified. Ramirez added gently, "And your sister Haley's name appears on several transfers. We'll subpoena her records, too." That twist hit like a lightning strike. I'd prepared to expose my father. Now my sister was in the crosshairs. The room felt smaller. My hands trembled. "I understand," I whispered. Outside, Lena packed her drive. I grabbed the folder. The elevator ride felt endless. My reflection in the steel doors looked haunted, determined, but shaken. Tomorrow I'd face Haley in court. Tonight I'd break the news to Mia. But first I had to inform my parents. I dialed Sophia's number, hands shaking. Her voicemail picked up. "Hey darling, leave a message." I hung up, heart sinking. No apology anticipated, just performative niceties. I drove home under a slate sky. Rain threatened, matching my mood. At the door, Mia greeted me with her Mommy You're Back song. I hugged her, tasting the sharp tang of fear. Pumpkin Mommy's going away for a little while, I said, heart twisting. She frowned. Why? I knelt, brushing her hair. I have to help people find out the truth. I'll be back soon. Her lower lip quivered. I kissed her and tucked her in, watching her clutch her teddy, oblivious to the storm brewing beyond her bedroom door. In my study, I spread out the FBI files, Hillcrest spreadsheets, video stills. My tech-savvy self buzzed every data point, a hammer blow to their lies. Yet the familial bond, once the bedrock, was crumbling. I thought of Martin teaching me to ride a bike in that Travis Hills neighborhood, his steady hand guiding me. Now that guiding hand had shoved money under the table, and my sister had taken it. The dream of the American meritocracy, work hard, play by the rules, felt like a cruel joke. My phone dinged, a text from Sarah Jacobs at Equity. Need to confirm, are we still good to air your segment tomorrow morning? I stared at the message. How could I go on air while cooperating with an FBI probe? If I delayed, the story might leak. If I proceeded, I might compromise the investigation. The weight of choice pressed on me. I typed back, please hold publishing until I confirm. We'll update ASAP. My fingers hovered over send. Then Lena's call came. You there? We just got a notice. Hillcrest's legal team filed an injunction against public disclosure of private funds. If Equity airs anything, the network could be sued. My blood chilled. The company had already moved to gag me, and possibly me personally, under non-disclosure. The dream of exposing them in prime time could turn into a legal nightmare for me, the whistleblower. I sank back. The risk escalated: federal case versus civil suits. The symbol of the heron's silent resilience felt distant now. Could I weather both storms? I thought of Sophia's podcast that morning, luring me home under soft words. It was a trap. I realized the family always preferred performance over honesty. The rain started tapping against the window. I set my jaw. Lena! We need to pivot, I said. Can you help me file my own protective order before they freeze my assets? She responded immediately. On it. Also, watch your email. Ramirez will send you a subpoena for the hearing next week. The calendar on my wall glared, Equity segment TBD. I exhaled, seeing the battlefield clearly now: tech media, federal court, civil injunctions. My parents and sister had cornered me on every front. But I had truth and data, and for Mia, I would fight. I grabbed my keys. Meet me at Sophia's studio, I told Lena. We go live there, raw and filtered. No network can gag a direct feed. She hesitated. That's guerrilla journalism, high risk. My heart pounded. High risk saved me once, I said, recalling the barbecue. I locked up, rain soaking my jacket. The night was alive with possibilities and peril. As Lena drove, I stared at the city lights through the windshield, towers of glass and steel, signifying ambition, wealth. The very system I'd worked so hard to breach. We arrived at Sophia's home studio, a glass box jutting over the lake. Inside, cables and mics lay ready. I slipped in, soaked, and faced a mirror-drenched hair, fierce eyes, a parent's love etched in every line. I tapped on the console. A live feed popped up. Millions could join. No intermediaries, no legal shields. Just me, the truth, and the night. I inhaled deeply, pressed the Go Live button, and the screen filled with viewers logging in. Comments scrolled. Is this really happening? Go Vivian! My pulse thundered. I reached for the mic. Good evening, everyone. My voice steadied. Tonight, I'm exposing my family's darkest secrets. Behind me, the lake gleamed under streetlights, a silent witness. As I began to recount the FBI's involvement and roll the incriminating clip, my phone lit up with a final alert. Haley's on the line. She says, "Stop this now, or I reveal what you did to Mom in college." My breath caught as the feed captured my falter, the threat hanging in the hush. The viewers waited. I stared at the phone screen, torn between self-defense and survival. What would I do? The chat exploded. Hashtag GrantGate is live. Tell Haley to back off. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as viewers poured in familiar names. Strangers, even tech journalists. Haley's voice crackled through my speaker. Stop this now, or I'll tell everyone what you did to Mom in college. How you leaked her medical records during her first pregnancy. My heart plunged. I'd protected that secret for years, buried under layers of forgiveness. If she spilled it, Sophia's reputation, her podcast, her sponsors would implode. The weight of betrayal settled like lead in my chest. I met Haley's challenge with a steady breath. Go ahead, I said, voice calm but fierce. The truth about you meeting Dad at that private lounge will still stand. I switched screens to the live feed showing the video evidence, Dad's fist on the Hillcrest ledger. Haley's sly grin handing over that envelope. Comments flooded proof. Expose them all. Don't back down. My pulse roared. Adrenaline sharpened my focus. Behind me, the studio lights glowed. Lena nodded, sliding me a glass of water. My throat was dry. Remember, she whispered, we're in control, this is your narrative. I steadied my hands on the mic stand. I leaked Mom's records in a moment of panic, I admitted softly. I was scared I made a mistake, but I owned up to it and apologized. You haven't seen one apology from my family. The chat stilled, then surged, oof. She's got you, fair point. Haley's sneer came through the speaker. Spare me. You think admitting it makes it okay? You embarrassed her in front of millions. A twist, she weaponized apology. My pulse thudded. The risk felt real, reveal my own dirt, lose the moral high ground. But silence would play into their narrative of me as the villain. I inhaled the studio's haze, tasted lipstick and stale coffee. Embarrassment isn't the same as theft and deceit, I countered. I apologized on my podcast. You're hiding investor money. You never apologized to me or to those families you stole from. My words cut through the tension like a bell. Haley's voice wavered. This isn't over. Then she hung up. The line went dead. A sudden knock rattled the studio door. Agent Ramirez stepped in, eyes grave. Ms. Grant, we have a situation. A warrant for Haley's arrest is about to be issued for wire fraud. I need you to confirm your testimony in writing. I stared at him. The federal hammer was falling. Yet behind his uniform, I saw relief justice moving in slow motion. Yes, I said. Tell me what to do. Ramirez nodded, stepping aside to take his phone call. Moments later, the chat lit up with breaking news banners from Equity's Twitter. FBI moves to arrest Haley Grant. Exclusive family betrayal hits Hillcrest Valley. Investors demand accountability. My heart surged. Viewers glued the truth, unspooled globally. But I also felt a pang. This was family. My pulse faltered as a new message scrolled. Martin has resigned as partner, effective immediately. I pictured Dad's stoic facade cracking under pressure. Behind me, Lena exhaled. We did it. I forced a smile, but my knees trembled. We're just getting started. Sophia's podcast subscribers were spiking. Sponsor emails pinged in her inbox. Haley would be handcuffed. Dad's name dragged through headlines. The symbol of the heron flashed in my mind, silent dignity before the storm. We'd summoned the storm, and now we'd weather it. I shut off the live stream, the studio falling into hush. Ramirez handed me paperwork, a subpoena witness protection form, non-disclosure caveat for my safety. I read the fine print. Testify next week. Avoid public disclosures. My fingers trembled. They'll try to silence me, I muttered. Ramirez nodded. They might, but with the FBI behind you, they'll think twice. His words felt both reassuring and ominous. At home, Mia slept in her little bunk bed, nightlight casting soft yellow circles. I tiptoed in, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Mommy's working to keep you safe, I whispered. Her cheeks were flushed. She stirred, muttered butterfly, and drifted off. I sat beside her, the room silent, but for the hum of the baby monitor. Exposing family had cost me peace. Protecting Mia would cost me more battles. My phone buzzed. Sarah Jacobs from Equity. Impressive scoop. Expect a feature tomorrow afternoon. I stared at the screen. Tomorrow's feature would cement this as a tech world scandal, not just a family feud. Back in the day, I'd dreamt of building software to improve lives. Now, I was building a case for justice using the same data skills. The dream of the American dream had mutated. It wasn't wealth, but integrity that mattered. I thought of Lena, of Ramirez, of the countless investors who trusted Hillcrest, and of Sophia, whose soft voice had inveigled me back. I realized forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was choice. I'd forgive the secrets and lies, but never forget. I rose, paced the nursery, heart hammering with both dread and resolve. Then my phone chimed again, a video file from Owen. My breath caught as I pressed play. The screen showed a drone shot drifting over Lake Travis at dawn, the scene of the BBQ. But then the drone descended to reveal a rusted metal box buried at the shoreline, half submerged in mud. A gloved hand pried it open inside stacks of cash, incriminating ledgers, and a sealed letter addressed to Vivian. My pulse froze. The caption read, "From Dad in case I need to protect the family." I paused the frame. My father's handwriting, perfect cursive spelling out, "If you find this, know I loved you." My breath hitched as I realized this letter could redeem him or damn him further. The box's contents could rewrite everything. I traced the letter's seal on screen, feeling my throat close. Did I open it or leave it sealed, proof of a father's love and guilt? The drone's camera hovered as the box lay open, waiting for my choice: redemption or ruin. I sat at my kitchen table, that sealed letter before me, the stacks of cash and ledgers spread like a treasure map of betrayal. Morning light slanted through the blinds, dust motes dancing in the silence. My fingers trembled as I traced Dad's cursive. "If you find this, know I loved you." I thought of Mia's wide eyes, the heron's patience, and the storm I'd summoned. My heart ached. Opening the letter could humanize him, or it could give him more leverage. I took a steadying breath and slit the envelope. Inside, 2 pages of thick stationery bore his handwriting, an admission of guilt, apologies for every lie, and instructions to return the cash to investors. He wrote of regrets of seeing his daughter as a rival rather than family, and urged me to use the evidence wisely. A final line: "I hope someday you can forgive me." Tears blurred the ink. I folded the pages, pressed them into my pocket. Forgiveness felt miles away, but I needed this truth. That afternoon, I parked outside the Travis County Courthouse. Limestone columns loomed like silent jurors. My steps echoed on the marble floor as I entered courtroom 3B. A gallery of investors, Hillcrest employees, and local reporters filled the benches. Haley sat at the defense table, handcuffed, face pale beneath her designer waves. Dad watched from the front row, shoulders hunched in a borrowed suit. Agent Ramirez nodded at me. I adjusted my blazer and took my seat alongside the prosecutor. Lena slipped in beside me, holding the uncompressed drone footage on a tablet. Across from me, the defense attorney, a slick man in tortoiseshell glasses, flipped through his notes. The judge, a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes, tapped her gavel. "Court is in session." Ramirez presented the FBI's evidence: email chains, bank logs, GPS data, Haley's wire transfers, and Dad's own confession letters. He played the hidden camera clip at the patio BBQ, Haley's laughter as she handed over that envelope once, twice, leaving the courtroom silent in its wake. My throat squeezed as I watched my sister's smirk dissolve into panic. The defense called Haley to the stand. She'd prepared her script claiming a family loan for emergencies, no intent to defraud. But Lena's footage contradicted her every word. When asked why she hid these transfers from Martin, Haley's voice wavered. "I thought I was protecting the family," she said. "I never meant harm." The judge's gaze hardened. She pressed Haley. "Did you sign off those checks, knowing they were investor funds?" Haley looked away. "Yes, Your Honor." The words hung like a guillotine. Next, they called me. My pulse thundered as I rose. I walked past the empty jury box, each step echoing. I felt the weight of every viewer from the live stream, every investor whose life savings I'd defended. I passed Haley without glancing back. At the stand, the judge's bench felt like an altar of truth. I recounted my journey, returning to that barbecue for Mia Haley's hot sauce attack, the live stream that shattered illusions. I described finding the box at the Lakeshore, Dad's envelope and letter, their confession, their proof. My voice trembled only once. "I didn't set out to destroy my family," I said, eyes on the judge. "I set out to protect my daughter and uphold the values you teach in schools: honesty, accountability, justice." A nurse in the gallery dabbed a tear. The prosecutor asked if I'd discussed this with my mother. "No," I said. "She never asked." A flash of pain ran through me. I realized Sophia had always been the audience to my life, not its guardian. The judge nodded, impressed by my composure. Then the judge weighed in. "In light of your testimony and overwhelming evidence, the court finds Haley Grant guilty of financial fraud and orders restitution of $152,000 to Hillcrest investors within 90 days. Furthermore, Martin Grant is reprimanded for obstruction of justice and placed on 3 years probation. Court is adjourned. A thunderclap of gavel and the courtroom erupted. Haley wept. Martin stared at his folded hands. I stood heart-pounding as whispers surged, journalists scribbling headlines, investors nodding in relief. Even the judge gave me a small, respectful nod. Outside in the hallway, cameras flashed. Reporters crowded me. "Vivian, your courage! What's next for Hillcrest?" I held up my hand. No comments. Lena appeared, pulling me aside. "You did it!" I closed my eyes, exhaling years of tension. We did it. But celebration tasted bittersweet. Justice had come at the cost of family bonds. The heron outside, perched on a ledge, seemed to watch me, steady and unafraid. I knew I'd never be the same. That evening, I stood on my porch, Mia asleep inside. The air was soft, tinged with pond lilies and promise. My phone lit with messages. Sarah Jacobs confirming the equity segment ran tomorrow, messages of support flooding in. But then a new alert, a DM from Sophia. "Meet me at the First Presbyterian Church at sunrise. I have something you need to see." My breath caught. Church sunrise, my mother, the influencer. What could she hide in a house of worship? I stared at the message, heart heavy with questions. Forgiveness had felt distant now. My mother beckoned me to confession. I tucked the phone away, feeling the weight of Dawn's promise. The final trial had ended. But what awaited me at sunrise might change everything again. As I turned to enter the house, a news flash on my porch TV caught my eye. Grant Gate Part 2. Secret will leak. Unknown beneficiaries named. My pulse thundered. Unknown beneficiaries. My grip tightened on the doorframe. The past secrets weren't finished with me yet. Sunrise was pale gold as I walked toward First Presbyterian Church, its steeple glowing against the morning sky. The dew-wet grass whispered under my boots, and I clutched my phone like a lifeline. Sophia waited near the entrance, hooded parka, shielding her face. Her eyes were red, puffy from crying, or perhaps anticipation. I paused, heart pounding. "Mom," I said softly. She nodded, handing me a manila envelope. "I found this in Dad's study," she whispered. The envelope was heavy, thick with paper. My breath hitched. It's his will. Inside the first page bore Martin Grant's signature, I, Martin Grant of Austin, Texas. The next lines named beneficiaries, first my sister Haley Standard. Then, unexpectedly, to my daughter Vivian Grant, 50% of all family assets. And finally, to Sophia Grant, 100% of any remaining family forgiveness fund. My pulse thundered. Dad had set it up, so I'd inherit not just the money he stole, but also the legacy of redemption money, earmarked for making amends. My eyes stung as I scanned the lines, a final plea for reconciliation, a vote of confidence in me. Tears brimmed. Sophia's voice cracked. "He wanted you to have a fresh start." I swallowed hard, the weight of his apology and trust settling over me. I pictured Dad late at night writing these pages, guilt and love, bleeding onto the paper. Behind me, the church bells tolled, as if marking a final chapter closing. Sophia reached for my hand, our first real touch since the barbecue. "Will you forgive him?" she asked. My fingers tightened. Forgiveness was a promise, not a feeling, a choice I'd made long ago when shielding Mia from shame. I nodded, tears streaking down. For her. I squeezed the envelope. And for myself. We stepped inside. The sanctuary smelled of cedar pews and hymnals. Light fell through stained glass windows, painting the aisle in ruby and sapphire. Sophia led me to a small wooden lectern. She handed me a church bulletin. Today's service included a special reading from both daughter and mother. My breath caught. I was about to speak to a congregation, including investors, reporters, even some of my oldest friends. I swallowed. The room filled with murmurs as folks recognized me. I stepped forward, unfolded the will pages, and cleared my throat. My voice trembled at first. I stand here as the daughter of flawed humans, my father who lied, my sister who stole. But I also stand here as someone who believes in redemption. Today, I read this not to shame them further, but to honor their courage in admitting wrong and to reclaim our shared values. I read Dad's words, his regret, his instruction to use the assets for good. Each line echoed in the vaulted ceiling. The congregation was silent as the final clause landed. May this inheritance be a bridge to healing for Vivian, for Sophia, for our family, and for every person who's ever betrayed another. My voice caught. I folded the pages. I accept this gift with gratitude and with responsibility. Applause broke like waves. Investors and reporters rose, some with tears. I saw Haley in the back, her eyes wide, shame and relief mingling on her face. Sophia pressed my shoulder. I felt a warmth spread. I'd turned my family's poison into a salve. The church choir began a hymn, Amazing Grace, and I closed my eyes, letting the music carry me. Afterward, in the fellowship hall, tables groaned under brunch treats, coffee cake, quiche, fruit platters. Instead of reporters' cameras, there were hugs, friends, colleagues, even some investors approached to thank me. One older pastor patted my arm. "It takes real bravery to forgive," he said. My heart swelled. Outside, the lake shimmered beneath the sun. I held Mia's hand as she ran to the edge, scooping up pebbles. She looked up, grinning. "Mommy, can I throw some into the water?" I nodded. She skipped a stone. It skipped 3 times before sinking. I felt a lightness, stones of betrayal, sunk waves of forgiveness rippling outward. In the crowd, I spotted Haley. She came up shyly. "Vivian." "I'm sorry," she whispered. I hugged her. "Thank you for finally seeing me," I said. She nodded, eyes glistening. "I'll spend every dollar making it right." I believed her. Sophia joined us, the 3 of us forming a circle. A breeze rustled the church's oaks. My mother's hand trembled as she laid hers atop mine. "Family isn't perfect," she said softly, "but love makes us try." I glanced at the will pages in my pocket, a reminder of our broken past and new beginnings. As the sun climbed, I thought back to that first BBQ hot sauce betrayal live streams. We'd summoned a firestorm and walked through it. Now, standing here, I realized justice and forgiveness weren't opposites. They were 2 wings on the same bird. The heron symbol came to me, stand strong in the storm, then take flight. That afternoon, I returned to my study, Mia skipping beside me. I logged into Hillcrest's investor portal, scheduled the restitution payments per court order, and initiated a nonprofit scholarships fund in Dad's memory, using the inheritance as he intended. I drafted press releases and podcast scripts, balancing accountability with compassion. We can't erase the past, but we can build a better future. As dusk fell, I tucked Mia into bed and read her a story of a heron who whispered courage to the wind. She snuggled close, eyes heavy. "Mommy," she mumbled. "I like your heron story." I stroked her hair. "Me too, sweetie." "Me too." I turned off the light, my heart full. In the quiet house, I placed Dad's letter on my desk, a testament to flawed love. I slid it into a velvet box, kept safe but honored. I sat back, fingers lacing together, feeling both closure and potential. The storm had passed. Now I would chart our course. Tomorrow, I'd record a podcast episode on family matters alongside Sophia, a conversation on accountability, redemption, and the power of truth. And in that shared platform, our voices, mother and daughter, would weave a new legacy. I glanced at the moonlit window reflection, half heron, half human. My journey had led me from betrayal to justice to forgiveness. Yet the world still spun with untold stories. I sighed a contented exhale. My family's saga had turned from a cautionary tale into a blueprint for hope. As I switched off my desk lamp, the screen flickered, one last notification. A news alert, breaking new whistleblower emerges, linking Hillcrest's executives to offshore accounts. My breath caught. Someone else was waiting in the wings. The fight for truth and forgiveness was far from over. Story 3. You know how some kids grow up in houses full of love? The kind of homes where someone always remembers your birthday, where dinner means conversation, where even your quiet moments are seen. Yeah, I didn't have that. From the outside, we looked fine. Maybe even better than fine. Middle-class family, 2 kids, a dog, a nice enough neighborhood. My dad worked in insurance. My mom stayed home, baked a lot, volunteered at Ryan's school. That's my little brother, the golden child. I don't say that to be bitter. Okay, maybe a little, but it's the truth. If there was one phrase to describe my childhood, it'd be this. Look how amazing Ryan is. Birthday, Ryan gets a new bike. I get socks. Report card, Ryan gets a dinner out. I get a shrug. If he scraped his knee, it was an emergency. If I had a fever, you'll be fine. By the time I was 8, I learned something very clear. I was background noise. It's not like they hated me. It was worse than that. They just didn't notice me. I was the quiet one. I read books, built stuff in the garage, kept to myself. Ryan. He lit up a room, big smile, big energy, always saying the right thing to adults. Teachers loved him. My parents adored him. And I guess it just became easier for everyone to forget I was even there. I don't remember when Brian showed up exactly. I think I was around 10 or 11. He was this clean-cut, middle-aged guy with a loud laugh and a weirdly calm voice. He was a friend of my dad's from some local church group. He had money, drove a fancy car, always brought little gifts. Ryan loved him immediately. He called Brian Uncle B. Brian would bring video games, basketballs, candy bars just for Ryan. Never for me. Not once. And honestly, I didn't even care. I was used to being skipped. What bothered me more were the things I noticed. Like how Brian always wanted to hug Ryan. How his hand would stay just a little too long on his shoulder. The way he looked at him during dinner, like he was studying him. And the way he started to show interest in me, not in a normal way. In a heavy way. Like I was some puzzle he wanted to figure out. It started with him always asking me to sit next to him, touching my arm during conversation, calling me handsome in a tone that didn't feel right. The kind of things adults say that make your stomach twist, but when you say something, they laugh it off like you're the weird one. I told my mom once offhand, something like Brian makes me uncomfortable. You know what she said? Oh, don't be rude. He's just friendly. Maybe if you smiled more, he'd warm up to you like he does with Ryan. Like I was the problem. I never brought it up again. And I think that was the moment I realized something ugly in this house Ryan was worth defending. I was just extra. There was one night, it still lives in my head, rent-free, when Brian stayed over after dinner. It wasn't unusual. My parents trusted him more than most family members. I was in the guest room watching cartoons when he came in and closed the door behind him. He sat on the edge of the bed, said he wanted to talk. Started asking me questions, deep stuff, personal things. I froze. He didn't touch me that night, but he sat too close, way too close, and he stared like he was deciding something. It was the most terrified I'd ever felt without screaming. I told my dad the next morning, word for word, I don't want Brian in my room ever again. You know what he said? Don't be dramatic, Aiden. Brian's a family friend. And honestly, maybe you should try being more polite. He's done a lot for us. That was the day I stopped trusting my parents. That was the day I understood if something bad ever happened to me, they'd never believe it, because they never really saw me in the first place. Looking back now, I don't think Brian ever needed to hide what he was doing. Not really, because no one was watching. At least, not the people who mattered. And if I tried to say something, I was misreading things. Too sensitive, just jealous of the attention Ryan got. But I wasn't misreading anything. Brian kept coming around more often. He became a regular fixture in our house. My mom would make him coffee like he lived there. My dad would hand him the remote like it was normal. Ryan thought he was the coolest guy on earth, and to them, he probably was. He always brought something for Ryan. A baseball glove, limited edition sneakers, a new drone. One time he gave him a silver chain and said, "Only the real ones get these." My parents laughed like it was charming. I remember sitting on the couch quietly doing my math homework and thinking, if this guy is so great, why do I feel sick every time he smiles at me? And here's the thing, it wasn't always obvious. Brian was good at pretending. He didn't do anything that would get him in trouble when anyone else was around. He was smart, calculated. But when we were alone, the pressure changed. His words got darker. His jokes weren't really jokes. He started calling me his little shadow. I remember one afternoon, my parents were out grocery shopping. Ryan was upstairs playing video games. I was in the garage, working on a school project. Brian walked in, leaned against the wall and said, "You're a quiet one, huh?" "That's okay. I like quiet kids. They don't cause problems." I nodded, didn't even look at him. Then he said something I'll never forget. "No one listens to you, do they?" I didn't answer. Because that was the worst part. He was right. He knew exactly what he was doing. Picking the kid no one would believe, no one paid attention to, no one even really saw. My silence made me the perfect target. A week later, he offered to drive me home from soccer practice. My mom had double-booked herself. Ryan needed to be at some gifted program thing, so she called and asked if Brian could grab me. I didn't say anything when she told me. Just nodded. The whole car ride was quiet. I watched the streets. I knew the turns. I counted them in my head. Then, we didn't turn where we should have. Shortcut, he said casually. My hands went cold. He pulled into this old construction site with a gate half hanging off its hinge, parked behind a row of broken-down trailers. My brain was screaming, but my mouth said nothing. I remember sitting there gripping my backpack so hard I thought I'd rip the straps. Then just like that, he backed out. No explanation. Just drove me home like nothing happened. I didn't eat dinner that night. The next day I told my mom I don't want Brian driving me anywhere again. She gave me that look, the one that says, "Why are you always so difficult?" and said, "Aiden, can you stop making everything into a problem? He's helping us. Be grateful." Grateful. That word tasted like acid in my throat. They never asked what happened. Never asked why I was uncomfortable. Never looked closer. Because to them, Brian was helpful, generous, safe. And me, I was the kid who read too much and talked too little. So I stayed quiet. What choice did I have? There's this moment that keeps replaying in my head. A single moment. A snapshot. It was the day of Ryan's birthday. His big Lucky 13 party. My mom had been planning it for months, balloons, catering, party favors, the whole 9 yards. It was all for Ryan, of course. I was just there. A background character at someone else's celebration. I remember sitting on the porch while everyone buzzed around inside. My job was to make sure the kids didn't touch the cake. Brian showed up late, carrying a huge box wrapped in shiny red paper. Everyone swarmed him like he was Santa. Ryan hugged him like he was his real dad. "And my mom!" She called out Brian. "You saved the day as always." I sat there in the shade, staring at the cracks in the wood beneath my feet. That night, after the cake and the dancing and the cleanup, Brian offered to drop me off at my friend Jason's house. My parents were too tired to care. I had told them earlier that Jason and I were doing a late-night movie marathon. It wasn't even a lie. I just never got there. Brian picked me up around 8 p.m. We started driving. I watched the familiar roads turn unfamiliar. Again. At first, I told myself maybe I had the directions wrong. Maybe he was taking a back route. But then we drove past the last streetlight, past the gas station, into that weird patch of nowhere where it felt like the world just disappeared. I asked, "Where are we going?" He said, "Somewhere quiet." I don't remember everything after that. Not clearly. I remember the sound of gravel under tires, a door slamming, the smell of mold, his breath too close, my mind pulling itself out of my body like it didn't want to be there either. He kept saying the same thing, "You're my special one. You're different." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just waited for it to be over. When he finally brought me back, it was almost noon the next day. My phone had died. I had no way of knowing what time it really was. When we pulled up to the house, he told me to say I slept over at Jason's and forgot to call. I nodded. Like a good boy. When I walked into the house, no one noticed I'd been gone all night. No one asked if I was okay. No one even looked up. They were too busy helping Ryan unwrap presents he hadn't gotten to the night before. My mom said, "Oh, there you are. Did you have fun at Jason's?" I mumbled. "Yeah," and went upstairs. I threw up twice that day. Once in the bathroom, once in my room. No one heard either. That night, I stood outside my parents' bedroom door for 10 minutes, with my fist raised about to knock. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. So I went back to bed and stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. I started changing after that. Something in me broke, I think. Not loudly, quietly, invisibly, like how ice cracks under pressure before it shatters. I stopped talking unless I had to. Stopped eating with the family. Stopped being difficult. And no one noticed that either. They thought I was maturing, growing up. But what I was really doing was disappearing. After that night, things didn't go back to normal. But no one noticed because for everyone else they had. Ryan kept being Ryan. Loud, happy, messy. My parents kept cheering him on. Brian kept coming around like he was part of the family. And me, I kept my head down, got good grades, ate quietly, didn't make waves. I was the perfect kid finally. But not really. Because the kid they thought I was, that kid didn't exist anymore. I don't think I even realized what was happening to me at first. It wasn't dramatic. There was no sudden breakdown, no shouting matches, no diaries full of rage. It was subtle, like water freezing slow and visible, but deadly if you stayed in it too long. I started losing pieces of myself. Stopped drawing, stopped playing guitar, stopped laughing. I remember walking past a mirror one day and thinking, is that what I look like now? Like I hadn't seen my own face in years. Brian still looked at me the same way. He still found ways to be alone with me, still whispered things that made my stomach twist. Sometimes he touched me. Sometimes he just stared. But it didn't really matter which, because the worst part wasn't what he did. The worst part was knowing no one would believe me if I told them. Once I tried again. I was 14. Brian had brushed his hand down my back after dinner. Just a casual touch, like someone might do with their own kid. Except it wasn't casual. Not from him. Not with that look on his face. That night I told my dad I don't feel comfortable around Brian. He didn't even look up from the game. He just said, "You're still going on about that." That was it. No questions, no concern. Just that one sentence thrown like a pebble into the bottom of a well, and the echo it left behind was deafening. I went upstairs and started packing a bag. I didn't even know where I'd go. I just needed to have something ready, just in case, just to feel like I had a way out, even if I never used it. I never did use it. I stayed, like I always did, because where else was I supposed to go? Instead, I started living a double life. At school, I smiled, turned in assignments early, helped teachers carry boxes. I was the good kid, the quiet one. My teachers loved me. Parents of other students told my mom how respectful I was. She'd smile and say, "Yeah, he's easy, no drama." Unlike Ryan, and everyone would laugh. At home, I became invisible. Like furniture. Like static. I slipped in and out of rooms without anyone noticing. Started doing extra chores. Learned how to anticipate needs before they were spoken. Not to get praise, just to stay out of trouble. To avoid the cold sighs, the side eye, the "why can't you be more like your brother" glares. And through it all, I never said Brian's name again. He still came around, though not as often. Eventually, something shifted. Maybe he got bored. Maybe he moved on. Or maybe he just knew he'd broken me enough that he didn't have to try anymore. Either way, he faded from my life like a nightmare that doesn't end, just goes quiet. But the damage was already done. I didn't know it yet, but I'd stopped being a kid. Stopped being someone worth protecting. And once you stop believing the people who say they love you will ever show up for you, you start learning how to show up for yourself. Even if you're still just a kid. Even if you shouldn't have to. I was 15 the last time it happened. It was supposed to be a normal school night. I had a project due in history class and was half asleep on the couch writing out flashcards. My mom was in the kitchen prepping something for Ryan's science fair. Dad was still in his office. And Brian! He just walked through the front door like always. No knock, no call, like he lived there. "Look who brought pizza," my mom called out. Ryan came flying down the stairs like a golden retriever. High-fived Brian, opened the box, and started eating before the lid even settled. Everyone laughed. It was warm, easy, perfectly normal, except I wasn't hungry. I didn't even look at Brian, just kept writing flashcards like I didn't exist. And that was the problem. I didn't exist. Not really. Not to them. He sat next to me on the couch, too close. I froze instinctively, leaning away. My mom saw it. I know she did. Her eyes flicked toward us, then back to the kitchen counter. Not a word, not even a raised eyebrow. That was the last straw. Not because of what Brian did that night, but because of what he didn't do. Because the scariest thing wasn't being touched. It was being erased. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my closet with my knees tucked up to my chest, holding the small notebook where I'd been writing everything down. Dates, times, quotes, what he said, what he did. My body was shaking, and I couldn't stop. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was rage. Rage that no one listened. Rage that no one even asked. Rage that I had to carry this alone while Ryan got medals for attendance and pancakes on Saturdays. Rage that they let it happen, over and over again. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait for someone to save me. Not anymore. The next day, I Googled how to report sexual abuse anonymously. I didn't know what I was doing. I was terrified. I cleared the browser history afterward, but I kept the phone number scribbled on a napkin under my mattress. I also started preparing, quietly. I applied for a job at the public library after school, said it was volunteer hours for my college resume. My mom beamed. "Such a hard worker," she said. "Why can't Ryan be more like that?" It wasn't for a resume. It was for escape. Every hour I worked, I put money aside. Every time I got paid, I hid a little bit more in a shoebox under my bed. I researched scholarships, grants, watched YouTube videos on budgeting and leaving home early. I wasn't planning to run away in the dramatic sense, I just needed an exit plan. And I was going to walk out clean. No drama, no tears, no confrontation. Just gone. Because if I learned one thing from that year, it was this: sometimes silence isn't surrender. Sometimes silence is the beginning of taking your power back. People think running away is some dramatic thing. Packing a bag, climbing out a window, disappearing into the night. But for me, it looked a lot more boring. It looked like minimum wage and spreadsheets, like budgeting apps and internet cafes, like lying with a straight face to people who never really looked at me anyway. I didn't run away, I built a way out, piece by piece. By 16, I had 3 jobs: library assistant after school, stocking shelves at the local grocery store on weekends, and occasionally tutoring younger kids in math. My parents didn't ask questions. They assumed I was keeping busy. My mom even bragged to other moms about my strong work ethic. The irony was almost funny. The truth: I was saving every dollar like my life depended on it. Because in a way it did. Brian had mostly disappeared by then. Maybe he felt the distance growing. Maybe he found someone else. Or maybe he thought I wasn't worth the trouble anymore. I'll never know, and I don't care. But the silence left behind wasn't peaceful. It was loaded. Like being underwater with your lungs full of air just waiting for something to pull you down again. So I stayed ready. Every time someone raised their voice, I flinched. Every time the phone rang, I checked if it was him. I avoided hugs. I avoided attention. I avoided mirrors. But I leaned hard into control. Control made me feel safe. I started tracking my money in a notebook. I watched YouTube tutorials on online businesses, drop shipping, print on demand, affiliate marketing. Most of it was garbage, but I started figuring out what wasn't. I taught myself how to design basic digital products, planners, simple templates, even some cheesy motivational posters. I uploaded them to a free online shop. Nothing fancy, just a placeholder, a test. One day I woke up and saw I'd made my first sale. $7.98. It felt like $1,000. Not because of the money, but because someone out there, somewhere, chose my thing. Something I made. Me. It lit a fire in me, a small flickering thing but real. I kept going, kept testing, kept learning. My fake smiles at school hit a brain that was moving a mile a minute. I didn't have the luxury of teenage rebellion. I didn't go to parties, didn't date, didn't dream. I planned, and every day I got a little closer to the door. My room became my base of operations, a silent war room. I even rearranged my furniture so the door wouldn't open fully, without hitting the bed, just in case someone tried to come in while I was working. I bought a secondhand laptop off Craigslist and password protected everything. I never worked on the family Wi-Fi. I used prepaid data sticks from the gas station. Paranoid? Maybe. But after everything I'd been through, trusting no one felt like common sense. And it worked. By the time I was 17, my little shop was pulling in enough to cover basic expenses. Not enough to live on, not yet, but enough to prove I wasn't crazy for believing I could do it. I didn't tell anyone, not even teachers, not even the school counselor who once asked if I wanted to talk. I smiled and said, "No, I'm good." Because they wouldn't have understood. Nobody did. Nobody had seen me in years. But that was okay. I saw myself. And I was almost ready to leave. I was halfway through my senior year when things started to shift. Not for me, for them. By that point, I had already made up my mind. I wasn't going to college. Not in the traditional sense. I had a plan. I'd quietly take my scholarship money and use the rest of my savings to rent a cheap studio apartment 2 towns over. I even had a lease lined up, one of those beat-up converted basements with a hot plate and terrible insulation. It wasn't much, but it was mine. What I didn't expect was what happened to Ryan. He'd always been the golden boy, the star, the one with the good hair and the charm and the confidence. But somewhere between his sweet 16 and 17, something started cracking. His energy got weird. He stopped turning in assignments, started skipping practice, got suspended for talking back to a teacher. At first, my parents thought it was a phase. Then he started having panic attacks. They didn't know what to do. They'd never had to parent a kid who needed them emotionally. I remember hearing my mom sobbing through the wall one night saying, "I don't understand. He was always so happy." Meanwhile, I was in my room shipping out 30 online orders and finalizing a deal with a supplier in Ohio. No one asked how I was doing, but now they were suddenly experts on mental health, reading blogs, joining support groups, talking about energy regulation and screen-free time. The irony wasn't lost on me. Then came the worst part. They asked me to help. One night at dinner, one of the rare times I actually sat with them, my dad cleared his throat and said, "Aiden, you're so level-headed. Maybe you could talk to your brother, help him get back on track." I almost choked on my water. Help him. The kid who mocked me every year growing up. The kid they protected like royalty, while I was begging silently, then not so silently, to be seen. I smiled, said sure. Then I went back to my room and packed another box. Because here's the thing, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even bitter. I just didn't care. I had spent so many years longing for my parents' approval, for my brother's respect, for somebody to look at me and say, "Hey, I see you." But now I had stopped needing that. The only person who had seen me all along was me. And I was enough. So when I got the keys to my studio apartment the week before graduation, I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't have a party. I didn't post about it. I didn't even tell anyone where I was going. I walked across the stage, shook the principal's hand, smiled for the camera, and went home to a house full of people who still had no idea I was leaving for good. That night I left a note on the kitchen counter. It just said, "I'm safe. I'm starting something new. Please don't come find me, Aiden." And I walked out the door. No one stopped me. No one even called. Not for weeks. The first message came a month after I left. It was from my mom. A text. Short, simple. "Hi, sweetheart. Just wondering how you're doing. We miss you. Please call." I stared at it for a while, then turned off my phone. Not because I was angry. Honestly, I wasn't even surprised. I had expected it to take longer. I figured they'd be too wrapped up in Ryan's latest meltdown to even notice I was gone. But apparently, things at home weren't going so well. The calls came next, then voicemails, then emails, all some variation of, "We're worried. Your brother's having a really hard time. We didn't mean to push you away. Please come home just for a little while." Not one of them asked what I needed. Not one of them said they were sorry. It was always about Ryan. Their perfect golden boy was unraveling, and now that the scaffolding had fallen, they were suddenly interested in the son they'd left standing in the shadows. Too late. I didn't respond. Not at first. I focused on my life, on unpacking boxes, building my business, paying bills. It was hard, don't get me wrong. There were nights I barely slept, mornings I questioned if I was in over my head. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of coming home, because I didn't have one to go back to. And then one day I got a knock on my door. It was my dad. He stood there in a button-up shirt, like he'd just come from church holding a paper bag with some cookies from the bakery we used to go to when I was little. He looked older, smaller. His voice shook when he said, "Can I come in?" I let him, not because I wanted to reconnect, but because I needed to hear it. Out loud. We sat across from each other on opposite ends of my tiny apartment, and he said, "Ryan's not doing well. He dropped out of school. He's barely eating. Your mother's a wreck." I waited. He kept talking. "I know we made mistakes. We didn't see what you were going through, but you were always so quiet. You never asked for help." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was just pathetic. "Are you seriously blaming this on me being quiet?" I said. "I begged you to listen. You just didn't like what I was saying." He looked away. "I was just trying to raise two boys the best I could," he mumbled. "No," I said. "You raised one. You worshipped Ryan. And you tolerated me." He opened his mouth, probably to argue, but I cut him off. "You don't get to need me now. Not when the house is burning. Not when the kid you built your whole world around finally collapses. I'm not your backup plan." He didn't say anything. Just sat there, staring at the floor. After a while, he stood up, nodded once, and left the cookies on the table. I threw them away after he left. Not out of spite. Just to make space. It was almost surreal to see him standing there. Ryan, at my door. He looked small. Not physically, he was still the taller one, still built like the kid who used to play varsity everything. But his face was pale eyes sunken, and the cocky energy he used to radiate was gone. He stood there in an oversized hoodie, fidgeting like he was 13 again, and had just broken something expensive. "Hey," he said. I leaned against the doorframe. "What do you want?" He looked past me into my apartment. I just wanted to talk." Mom said you wouldn't answer her calls. Thought maybe I'd try in person. I didn't say anything. He shifted, clearly uncomfortable. Can I come in? I didn't move. Why? He blinked. I don't know. I guess I wanted to say I'm sorry. That word hung in the air like fog. It didn't land, didn't cut, didn't feel earned. I stepped aside anyway, not for him, for me. We sat at my tiny kitchen table. The same table I'd assembled with a manual and a screwdriver. The same one I'd eaten every meal at since leaving. He looked out of place there. He cleared his throat. Things haven't been great. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I gathered that. I didn't know it was going to fall apart like this, he mumbled. I stayed quiet. He glanced at me. You hate me, huh? I laughed once dryly. No, I used to. But hate takes too much energy. I'm past that. He looked down, picked at a hangnail. I didn't mean to make your life hell, you know. I don't know. I was a kid. They gave me everything, and I thought that was normal. Yeah, I said. It was. For you. He flinched but nodded. I thought you liked it, he said after a while. Being alone, doing your own thing. You never complained. I looked him dead in the eye. I did complain, Ryan. You just didn't hear it. Neither did they. And by the time I stopped, it was because I realized no one was ever going to listen. Silence. He looked wrecked. They still think about you, you know, he said. They talk about how proud they are now, how they should have paid more attention. Yeah, I said flatly. Now that I'm useful, now that you're falling apart, and I'm the one standing. That hit. He didn't argue. I'm scared, he finally whispered. I feel like I'm breaking all the time, and no one knows what to do with me. That must be hard, I said. He looked at me surprised. I think he expected cruelty. Spite. A punch in the gut. But I didn't have it in me. I didn't need it. I'd already won. Not in the way movies show it, some dramatic victory with applause and slow music, but in the quiet, stable life I'd built while everyone else spiraled. He reached across the table like he wanted to bridge a gap. I don't want us to hate each other, he said. I stared at his hand. I don't hate you, Ryan, I said. I just don't trust you. And I'm not your fixer. I'm not your emotional crutch. I'm not your redemption arc. He pulled his hand back slowly. I don't know what to do anymore, he said. I stood up, walked to the door. You start by taking responsibility, I said, for how you treated people, for how you coasted while I drowned. He walked past me, stopped in the doorway. Thanks for letting me say it, he said softly. I nodded. Then I shut the door behind him. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the one who was left behind. It's been almost 2 years since Ryan showed up at my door. Since then, things have been quiet. No more surprise visits. No phone calls. The texts from my mom slowed, then stopped. My dad hasn't reached out at all. I think they finally realized I meant what I said. And honestly, I don't miss them. I don't say that with bitterness. I say it with peace. The kind of peace you earn, not find. The kind that comes from surviving something, then growing past it. My business is steady now. I have a small team. A couple of reliable clients. I sleep through the night. I make my own breakfast. I water my plants. My therapist says I've built a life that's emotionally self-sustaining. I like that phrase. But every now and then, I still think about writing them. Not a long letter, not something dramatic, just enough, so I did. I never sent it, but here's what it said. Dear Mom and Dad, I used to think I was broken. Too quiet, too needy, too dramatic, too weird, too hard to love. But the truth is, I was never broken. I was just invisible to people who didn't care to see me. You made room for Ryan. Every time. Every day. You protected him from things you refused to believe could touch me. You ignored my voice when it was whispering. Then again, when it was screaming. You believed the stranger who smiled more than the son who shook when he said no. And still, after everything, you wanted me to be the one to fix it, to come back, to save what you destroyed. But I'm not your glue. I'm not your apology. I'm not your second chance. I'm just me. And that's finally enough. Aiden. I keep the letter in a drawer, not as a reminder of what I lost, but of what I built. Because despite everything, I'm still here. I'm still standing. I found my voice even if no one else listened when I first used it. And maybe that's what surviving really is. Not just making it through, but making something out of it. Some days I think about what would have happened if they had listened. If they had looked me in the eye and said, "We believe you." If they had protected me instead of him. If they had chosen me just once. But they didn't. And now it's too late. And here's the truth. I don't owe them my healing. I don't owe them access to the version of me I fought tooth and nail to become. I can forgive them without letting them back in. And if that sounds cruel to you, I'd ask you this. At what point does forgiveness stop being noble and start becoming self-betrayal? My thoughts as the person sharing the story with you, the voice behind this channel. Too often, we see stories of family reconciliation wrapped up in warm bows and happy tears. But what about the ones where walking away was the healing? Where cutting contact was the boundary? Do you still call that selfish? Do you still label that holding a grudge? Or do you finally admit that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is leave? This story isn't about revenge. It's about survival. It's about a quiet kid who no one believed until he stopped asking to be heard and started building something no one could take from him. And now we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments. If your family failed to protect you, would you go back to help them just because they're family? Or would you do what Aiden did? Walk away, heal in silence, and protect your peace at all costs. We'll be reading every response. Because this time, unlike Aiden's childhood, your voice will be heard. Thanks for listening. You're not alone. Not anymore. Story 4. I prepared like a person who forgets nothing and forgives dust only on Sundays. I set up a security system, discreet cameras covering the front stoop patio and main floor. Not to spy. To breathe. I backed up everything labeled keys, left a folder on the counter titled, "If the World Ends." I texted Mom. "Could you drop by twice a week to water plants and collect mail?" She sent back a heart, then called. "Why don't we let Lena house sit?" she said, in that sweet tone that already assumed agreement. "She'll keep the place lively." "Lively is not a setting my floors enjoy," I said. "Please, just the plants. I'll send you the code." Silence. Then the telltale inhale. "Maya, you hold too tight. Your sister wants to help." "She wants a stage," I said, soft but steady. "Please, Mom." "Fine," she said, making fine sound like selfish. 5 minutes later, my Aunt Rhea, the family revealer, without meaning to be forwarded a voice note to the group chat by mistake. Mom's voice tired and sharp. "Maya's impossible. I'll give Lena the spare. At least someone will use that house." I stared at my phone until the screen went dark, and my reflection blinked back like a stranger. I should have confronted her. I didn't. I changed the front door code and left one spare key with Mr. Alvarez next door. Retired math teacher, moral compass, owns 3 collared cardigans and 1 very loud leaf blower. I flew out on a Thursday. The lemon tree glowed in the morning sun. I promised it I'd be back. Tokyo punched me awake. Meetings by day, slides by night. I spoke in timelines and savings, in benefits that sounded like safety and numbers that looked like trust. I called home every few days. Mom reported bright and breezy, "All is well, sweetheart. The philodendron looks lush." I let relief unclench my jaw. Then came Lena's story about a secured venue. I told myself she meant a rooftop bar. I put my phone face down. It kept buzzing. My coworker Dylan, the validator in my life, zero drama. All Data sent me a screenshot. Lena's post, but this time it was her text to a mutual friend. "My sis is in Asia for months. I'm turning her place into the party. You in or in?" My stomach did a slow roll. I opened my security app. The patio camera showed string lights I did not buy. The living room camera showed my couch nudged at an angle that wasn't mine. An unfamiliar cooler sat by the bookshelf lid, popped like a grin. No people, yet. I called Lena. She answered on the 3rd ring, breathless and sweet. "Maya. Did you see my big news?" "Congrats," I said. "Where's the party?" "Not sure yet," she lied, like a person borrowing sugar. "Somewhere, central." "Then why are there string lights in my patio?" Silence. A tiny music beat leaked from her end. "Finally, you're in Tokyo, May. The place is just sitting there. I'm keeping it safe. By throwing a party." "It's not a party, she said. "It's a gathering. Like 50. Okay, maybe 80. But everyone's classy." A laugh bubbled up my throat and turned into something harder. "No." "Oh, come on," she said, charmed by her own audacity. "You're being intense. It's my home. You act like your couch is the crown jewels." "My couch is not the point," I said. "Consent is." She sighed. "You've always hated fun." I hung up before the heat in my face said things I couldn't take back. Then I called Mom. She's celebrating a huge promotion, Mom said, using the voice deployed for bake sales and moral judgments. Can't you be generous? I am generous. I pay for my life. I protect my peace. You're dramatic, she snapped. We'll clean up. I'm not negotiating, I said. Tell her to cancel. Mom ended the call, not a click, a door. That night, jet lag and anger braided into something electric. I watched the cameras between slide decks. At 2 a.m. Tokyo time, the patio filled with people I didn't know measuring my space with their eyes. The living room camera caught two guys hauling in rented bar tubs. A woman taped a sign that read, Lena's Elevation Night. My name was nowhere. My house was everywhere. I needed clarity, evidence. I scrolled Lena's feed. She was careful on the public grid, but on her private story, the one she forgot I could still see, she filmed a slow pan past my Blue Runner staircase, the little chip on the fourth step, the framed map of Lisbon I thrifted on a rainy day. This vibe unmatched, she wrote. Blessed with the hookup. Dylan called me at 3 a.m. like only someone who actually cares will. You want to talk? He asked. Or do you want a plan? A plan, I said, surprising myself. Document. Timestamps. Screenshots. Don't warn again, he said. People who respect you don't need reminders. I saved everything. I breathed. I stared at the lemon tree swaying in the patio camera like it was keeping time with my pulse. Then Tess, my anchor, my friend who once held me through a panic attack and ordered tacos after, sent a message. Heard from a bartender friend that Lena booked a DJ in a pop-up bar for your address. Do you want me to swing by and tell them they've got the wrong venue? I closed my eyes. I saw every time I had bent backward into a bridge to keep the peace and ended up lying on the floor. No, I texted. Not yet. I made tea I wouldn't drink. I rearranged nothing in a hotel room that had nothing to rearrange. I let the rage cool into resolve. If they needed a lesson in boundaries, I would let someone else deliver it. Someone who wore a badge that didn't tremble when my mother said family. Because if you haven't guessed yet, the party would go ahead. And when it did, I made a single call from 12 time zones away that changed the trajectory of our family forever. The night of the gala arrived like a storm, pretending to be a breeze. My phone lit up with little circles of Lena's friends sipping pre-game drinks. Sequins, glitter, a caption that said Maya would die if she saw this bar. I opened the patio feed. Ice clinked in tubs that weren't mine. A bartending kit gleamed under string lights I never bought. The lemon tree shivered. I moved to the living room camera. My couch had been dragged at an angle. The rug was rucked under party heels. Someone had turned my record player into decor. The needle was naked. I wanted to reach through the glass and fix it. Then they came. Not 10, not 20. They poured in like a tide that didn't care who owned the shore. Voices bounced off walls I had painted with 2 coats to get the shade right. A DJ set up on my console table on top of the Lisbon map frame. I stopped breathing for a second. I called Lena, straight to voicemail. I called again, same thing. Dylan texted, You ready? I typed one word, yes. I dialed the non-emergency line for my city. I'm out of the country, I said. I own the home at this address. There are unauthorized people inside. It looks like a commercial bar. Occupancy is unsafe. I gave the code to the front camera. I offered to email proof of ownership. Send your docs, the dispatcher said. Units are on the way. I emailed my deed, my photo ID, and the activation receipt for my alarm system. Then I made tea I didn't drink and watched strangers laugh with their heads tilted back in my light. Mr. Alvarez texted, I'm on the porch across the street. Want me to talk to officers when they arrive? Please, I replied. Stay safe. On screen, a woman I'd never met wandered upstairs. My chest hurt. I watched her pause at my bedroom door, then vanish inside. The feed didn't cover that angle, but the hallway camera did. 10 minutes later, she came out hugging a blue folder. I knew that folder. Dad's handwriting on the tab. Insurance and wills. My skin went cold. The doorbell lit up. The music drowned it. The bass thunked through the frames until the first hard knock landed like a gavel. Heads turned, someone shushed, someone laughed. Lena opened the door with that bright, bouncy smile she uses like armor. The officers stayed polite. They always do at first. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read the shapes. ID, permission, owner. Lena pulled out her phone, eyes flaring. My screen lit up. I answered. Hey, she said, syrupy and thin. Tell them it's fine. Officers, I said, keeping my voice level. I am the homeowner. I did not authorize this event. I request the property be cleared. The nearest officer leaned toward the phone. Ma'am, do you want to press charges for trespass? Not tonight, I said. I want the crowd gone and the locks respected. Please document everything, and please note that alcohol is being served for money. There's a bar menu taped to my kitchen cabinet. Lena's face changed. The mask slipped. You're petty, she hissed. You're jealous of what I asked. Sticky countertops. She hung up and turned on the officer. Her hands moved fast. The officers didn't. The music cut. The room held its breath. Mr. Alvarez stepped into frame at the edge, cardigan zipped to his chin. He pointed to the door camera. He spoke softly. The officer nodded. Two more officers entered and began funneling people out, palm open, posture firm. No shouting, just the authority of procedure. A guest stumbled on the front step, went to a knee, and knocked a glass into the bush. The lemon leaves trembled again. My jaw clenched so tight my ears rang. Upstairs movement. The hallway feed caught a tall guy sneaking out of the office with something flat under his jacket. He hesitated at my gallery wall and took a photo of himself. I memorized his face. Back downstairs, Lena tried one last tactic. She tapped a call and put it on speaker. Mom, she said loud enough for everyone. Tell them. Nora's voice filled the room like perfume. I gave my daughter the key, she said to the officer. This is family property. Ma'am, the officer replied, the title owner has denied permission. We are clearing the house. Mom's voice sharpened. You don't understand our dynamic. I don't need to, he said. I understand the law. For a second, I thought it was over. Guests streamed out, cheeks, pink eyes wide. Then Lena tried to push past an officer to reach the DJ. He lifted a hand to stop her. She slapped it away, 1 second of heat, 1 click of cuffs. The room exhaled in a single shocked murmur. I didn't cheer. My stomach dropped. Even angry, she was still my sister. I closed my eyes and let the weight sit where it wanted to sit. They escorted her outside. The DJ wound cables with trembling fingers. 2 girls collected their tiny bags and wobbled into the night. The woman with my blue folder was gone. My heart hammered the glass. An officer called me back. We've cleared the residence, he said. Your sister was arrested for interfering. We've logged evidence of alcohol sales without a permit. Do you want an emergency no trespass order for specific individuals? Yes, I said. For Elena Nora Santos, Lena's full name, and for anyone she invited. I can send a list of handles and names. Send what you have, he said. We'll write the incident and attach your documents. When I hung up, my hands shook so hard I pressed them flat on the desk. The room blurred. I blinked until it snapped back into focus. Tess called, Talk to me! They took her, I said, and someone stole Dad's blue folder. Tess didn't gasp. She steadied. Okay, first breathe. Second, email the officer about the missing documents right now. Third, text Alvarez to lock up. I'll call a 24/7 cleaner for a morning slot so you don't have to walk back into stickiness when you return. I owe you so much. You owe me tacos, she said. The rest is love. I messaged Mr. Alvarez. He stepped in again, keys jangling, and checked windows one by one. He lifted the DJ table, revealed a puddle, and sighed like a disappointed grandpa. He found my record needle and set it gently in a teacup. He turned off the patio lights I hadn't bought. 10 minutes later, my mother called. I let it ring. I wasn't ready. She called again, and again. On the 4th try, I picked up. How could you do this to your sister? She demanded, skipping hello, like it was beneath her. They booked her. She was celebrating work. Your stinginess is embarrassing. She was selling drinks in my home, I said. She broke the law, and someone took Dad's legal folder. Silence. Then a pause wrapped in calculation. I never saw any folder, she said. You weren't there, Mom. I was on the phone, Maya, she snapped. I heard the officer. He was rude. He was procedural. You've always sided with outsiders, she said, and I could hear it, the manipulator's story turning. You make us look small. I don't need help to look small, I said, tired. I just need my boundaries to be real. She exhaled like a slammed door. We're posting bail, she said. You will reimburse us, and you will apologize. No, I said, and tasted how simple that word could be. I won't. Click. I sat in the dark hotel room, laptop glow, painting everything cheap. I made 3 list items to replace tasks for morning people I could trust. Dylan, Tess, Mr. Alvarez. Aunt Rhea, maybe. I texted Rhea, "Did you ever handle Dad's insurance files?" She replied at once, "Your mom asked for copies 2 months ago. Said it was for housekeeping. Why?" A little clock started ticking in my chest. The cleaner confirmed a dawn slot. The officer emailed the incident number. Dylan sent a template for a formal trespass notice and another for a demand to return stolen property. Tess sent a photo of her cat in a ridiculous sweater. Mr. Alvarez texted, "Front door locked. Kitchen window latched." I took the record needle to keep it safe. "I'll hand it back when you return." I thanked them all. Then I reopened the hallway clip and paused it on the tall guy's face as he smirked at his own reflection in my framed photos. I took a screenshot and saved it in a folder called Proof. I did the same with the woman holding the blue folder. The party had been loud, careless, glamorous, in a way that looks good on a 6-inch screen, but the cameras had taught my house to speak. And what it said was simple. Believe me, at dawn, sleep finally dragged me under like a gentle thief. It didn't last. The phone buzzed twice, hard and impatient. Unknown number. I answered with my voice still rough. "This is Officer Chow," he said. "Just a heads up. A woman came to the station insisting she's authorized to collect your sister's personal items. She presented herself as your mother. We denied release without your consent. Do you authorize Nora Santos to pick up anything on Lena's behalf?" I stared at the ceiling. The tick in my chest got louder. "No," I said. "Do not release anything to her." "Understood," he said. "Also, there's a note. Your sister claims the key she used came from your mother. We'll include that in the report." "Thank you," I said, though what I meant was I knew. The call ended. My flight home was still weeks away, but the distance didn't feel as brutal anymore. Evidence traveled faster than people. Boundaries did too. I opened a fresh document and started a letter to my family. Not a speech, not a plea. A line in ink that couldn't be twisted into something else later. I wrote the facts. I wrote my limits. I wrote what would happen next if those limits snapped again. When I finished, I didn't send it. Not yet. There was still one piece missing. The blue folder. If it was gone, I needed to know why. And if it wasn't gone, I needed to know who wanted it out of my reach. I closed the laptop. The room felt very quiet. Somewhere the lemon tree was catching morning light, holding it in those small green hands like a promise. I woke to an ache behind my eyes and a phone full of receipts. The incident number. 2 screenshots of faces sneaking upstairs. A copy of the bar menu taped to my cabinet. It all sat there bright and ugly. Dylan called first. "You slept." "A little." "Good enough. Here's the move," he said. "File a supplemental report listing the stolen folder. Contact the insurer and the county recorder. Set fraud alerts. Put passphrases on every account. Don't wait." I'm on it. He sent me a checklist. It was neat. It was mercifully cold. I needed cold. I emailed Officer Chow, list of stolen items, description of the blue folder, names of likely suspects. I included 2 stills from the hallway camera. One of the tall guy smirking, one of the woman hugging the folder. Then I called the property records office. A clerk with a kind voice picked up. I gave my parcel number. "There were 2 queries on your title last week," she said. "No recordings." Who queried? "A law office," she said, and read the name. I didn't recognize it. "Can you put a watch on my title?" I asked. "We have a free alert," she said. "I'll enroll you now." I thanked her and moved down the list. I called Dad's insurer. I placed a fraud alert and set a PIN. I called my bank. I added a passphrase that only my grandmother would know. I changed the code to the front door again and messaged Mr. Alvarez the new one. Aunt Rhea pinged me while I was still on hold with the bank. "You okay?" "Define." "Okay," I typed. "Did Mom ask you for notary info recently?" She called instead of texting. 2 months ago, she said. She wanted a notary who wouldn't ask too many questions. I told her that's not how notarizing works. She got snippy, said I was gatekeeping the family. What did she want? Notarized. Something about updates to insurance and a draft will. She mentioned your dad, but he didn't come with her. I told her to bring him or forget it. Did she forget it? "I don't think so," Rhea said. "She went to that shipping place on Olive, the one with the sad cactus in the window. Parcel Point. That's the one. The clerk there, Carlo, notarizes everything that stands still. Cash preferred." I wrote it down. My hands were steady now, steadier than my voice. May she added voice, softening your mom, is determined. She thinks she's shielding Lena from the big bad world. She's really just building a bigger shadow. I know, I said. Thank you. A minute later, Mr. Alvarez texted. My grandson found a plastic tab in your hedge. Blue. Says insurance and wills. Want me to keep it safe? He sent a photo. The tab was mine. Please, I typed. And did he see any papers? Just a torn page, he wrote. He sent another photo. It was a change of beneficiary form, half ripped, half smeared. I could still read the first line, owner Benjamin Santos, and under new primary, a name that made my throat tighten. Elena N. Santos. My mother. The owner line made sense, Dad. But the handwriting wasn't his. It was Lena's looping script filling out the witness address. Sloppy, familiar. My finger hovered over Dad's contact. I called. He answered like he always does with my name. Maya. Hi, Dad. Are you safe? I am. Are you? A silence stretched. Then he sighed. Your mother is loud today. Dad, did you ask her to change any policies? No, he said. I told her we'd talk after tax season. I asked her to leave it alone. Did you put a folder in my care on purpose? I did, he said, no wobble in his voice. You remember last winter when you and I cleaned out the garage? I did. We'd found a box of ancient receipts and a stack of postcards from people he used to fix cars for, all signed with thanks and grease. I slipped the folder into your backpack that day, he said. I was going to tell you, but then your trip came up. Why me, I asked. It came out small. Because you don't blink when things are heavy, he said. Because your mother loves hard, but not always straight. Because Lena burns hot, and I'm tired, Maya. I swallowed. What was in it exactly? My will, he said. A letter to you. A durable power of attorney that starts only if a doctor says I can't decide things. Copies of 2 policies. Your mother hates that power of attorney. She says it insults her. It doesn't. It protects us. Did you change beneficiaries? I added you as contingent on 1 policy, he said quietly. We spent a lot pulling Lena out of a mess 2 years ago. I didn't want more loans. Your mother thinks money is love. I think money is a seatbelt. Tears pressed behind my eyes. Not loud ones. The heavy kind. Dad, I said the folder may be gone. Then we make new copies, he said. Calm. Notaries like stamps. I can get stamps. I smiled at that. I'll help, I said. I know, he said. And Maya, don't fight with your mother on the phone. She performs on phones. See her eyes when you speak. We hung up. My anger had a new shape now. Less wildfire. More welding torch. Tess called next. I did a thing, she said. I posted a still of tall guy to a neighborhood group I lurk in. The bar crowd ID'd him in 5 minutes. Name's Marco. He bartends at Lucent on Thursdays. Does side gigs. Thinks he's subtle. Is he? Not even a little, she said. Want me to message him? I'll send a formal note first, I said. Then you can sprinkle fear. Dylan drafted the letter. It was 1 page sharp as a paper cut. Return the stolen property within 24 hours. Otherwise, we'll file for a civil claim and send the images to his employer. I signed it and sent it to Marco's public email and to Lucent's manager. An hour later, Lucent replied, We know Marco. He was off the clock. We do not condone theft. Please don't post about us. There was a line at the end. We will handle Marco internally. Good, I thought. Handle him like a hot pan. At dusk, my morning Mr. Alvarez texted again. Paper bag on my porch. No note. He sent a photo. Inside the bag was the blue folder damp at the edges, grit from the alley stuck to the plastic. He held it up to his camera and broadcast the opening to me like a cooking show. The will was there. The POA. The policies. The letter in Dad's blocky hand. Some pages had smudged corners, but they were readable. I asked him to lock the folder in his wall safe. He chuckled. You knew I'd have one. I assumed, I said. Thank you. When he left frame, I asked him to put the letter aside. I wanted to read it with my own hands. He nodded like he understood something I hadn't said. With the folder safe, I finally opened Mom's latest message. It was a paragraph of heat. You humiliated this family. You called the police on blood. You made your sister spend a night in a cell. You owe us $5,000 for bail. We will be at your house when you return. We will discuss what you owe. I didn't reply. I sent the incident number, the trespass order, and 1 line, do not come to my house uninvited again. Then I muted her thread. A calendar alert slid onto my screen. Sole client dinner. I looked at my face in the mirror above the minibar and laughed once softly. I looked like a person who could sell hope to a hospital and still carry a family war in her back pocket. The funny thing is, I wrote in my notes we all think we know the truth because we've heard the story the loudest voice told. But paper doesn't perform. It just sits there stubborn waiting to be read. Before bed, the county alert pinged again. New inquiry on your title. Same law office as before. I forwarded it to Dylan. He replied, "We're fine." Lawyers sniff. We build fences. I slept deeper. No dreams, just weight leaving my chest in small, careful handfuls. In the morning, the sky over Seoul was a shade of blue that looked edited. I pressed my palm to the glass and felt nothing but cold. Somewhere far away, my lemon tree held on to a bead of water at the tip of a leaf. Surface tension I remembered from school. The thing that keeps a drop from breaking. The thing that lets it grow round and shimmering until it chooses its fall. I booked an earlier flight home. Not a dramatic exit, a measured one. I emailed Victor and framed it as a needed reset before the Singapore push. He agreed. "You've earned it," he wrote. "Close what you need to close." I made one more call before I packed. Parcel point. "Is Carlo in?" I asked. A bored voice answered, "This is Carlo." "Did a woman named Nora Santos notarize anything for a Benjamin Santos 2 months ago?" I asked. He hesitated. "I can't discuss customers." "Of course," I said. "I'm the daughter, and I'm holding a police report number." Paper rustled. "She brought a change form," he said finally. The man wasn't present. I refused. She left angry. "Thank you," I said. "And Carlo, next time refuse faster." He laughed, then coughed, then hung up. The lines were clear now. Mom had tried to push changes without Dad. Lena had played courier and hostess and martyr. I had been the lock they needed to pick. When the door held, they tried the window. I zipped my suitcase. I checked my slides. I kissed the little dumb hotel kettle for getting me through the worst night. Then I stood very still and let myself feel something that wasn't anger. Relief. Not because everything was okay, because the story had edges I could touch. I flew home on a red-eye that felt longer than the Pacific. No movie held me. I watched the flight map crawl and rehearsed sentences I wanted to say, and the shorter ones I actually would. Dawn met me with thin light and a chill that found the bones. Mr. Alvarez was waiting on his porch in his cardigan, a thermos steaming between his hands. He waved like we were starting a normal day. Inside, the cleaners had done their quiet miracle. The floors were not sticky. The rug lay flat. The record needle waited in a teacup like a tiny silver bird. The lemon tree held 3 brave fruits like yellow lanterns. Calm on the surface, a hum underneath. "Safe's open," Mr. Alvarez said. "Folders inside." I didn't peek. "Thank you," I said, "for everything." He shrugged. "I'm old. I like rules." "Your house deserved them too." I set my suitcase by the stairs and carried the blue folder to the kitchen. I put it on the island. The plastic was cool. The grit at the edges scratched my palms. I washed my hands, dried them carefully, and opened it. Dad's letter sat on top, folded once edges soft with handling. His blocky print filled one page. No drama. Just sentences that looked me in the eye. He wrote that he trusted me to make quiet decisions when loud ones would be easy. He wrote that money is a seatbelt, not a love language. He wrote that he loved Mom's fire and Lena's light, but needed my ballast. He wrote that the POA was springing not current and only existed to keep us safe in a storm. He asked me to keep copies to listen more than I spoke, and to never confuse kindness with permission. I read it twice, then I slid it back in the folder and breathed. I didn't cry. I think the tears had burned off somewhere over the ocean. I texted Tess home. She replied with a heart and, "Do you want me there?" "Yes," I wrote, "half an hour." I texted Aunt Rhea too, and Dad. And I left Mom off on purpose. She would come anyway, she always does. I turned on the living room and kitchen cameras and set them to record to the cloud. Not because I wanted a show, because I wanted a record that wouldn't bend later. Tess arrived first, hair in a bun, soft tote bag full of snacks I wouldn't eat. She hugged me and whispered, "Anchor's here." I smiled into her shoulder. Rhea came next with bakery croissants and a look that said she had my back and my history. She set the box down, peered at the blue folder, and nodded like it was a person we both knew. Dad came last before the storm. He looked smaller than I remembered, and more certain. He took my hand squeezed and sat at the island like it was a table in a garage 30 years ago. Then the door flew open. Mom didn't knock. She never knocks. Her heels hit the floor like gavel taps. Lena followed hair-blown-out sunglasses inside a bruise of shame under the eyeliner that she tried to hide with brightness. Finally, Mom said, dropping her purse on my counter, "We're going to settle this embarrassment." "No," I said. "We're going to state the facts." She blinked. The kitchen was bright. The island was clean. The folder was blue. I felt steady. "First fact," I said. "This is my home. Here's the deed." I slid a copy across the island. "Second fact, I did not give permission for any event. Here is the incident report." Another sheet. "Third fact, alcohol was sold without a permit." I placed the photo of the bar menu next to the croissants. "Fourth fact, a folder was removed from my private office and then returned anonymously." I touched the blue plastic. "Inside are Dad's will, a springing POA, and 2 policies. They are legal, they are valid, they are not yours to edit." Mom's mouth tightened. "You're performing." "No," I said. "I'm protecting." She reached for the folder. I placed my hand on it. "Don't," I said. The word came out without decoration. It landed between us and stayed. Lena lifted the sunglasses to her head. "I didn't steal anything," she said, voice small for once. "Marco took it. He brought it back." "You invited him into my upstairs," I said. "You opened the door that let theft walk in wearing cologne." Her eyes watered. "I was celebrating," she whispered. "I got promoted." "I'm happy for your promotion," I said. "It doesn't buy keys to my life." "Enough," Mom snapped. She turned to Dad like a director calling for a line. "Ben, tell her how families work." Dad didn't look at Mom. He looked at me. "I asked Maya to keep the folder," he said. "Because she's careful, I should have told you. That's on me." Mom laughed bright sharp. "You're weak. You let her run things." "I asked her to hold paper," Dad said quietly. "You asked Lena to hold fire." Silence. Rhea cleared her throat. "Nora, you asked me for a notary who wouldn't ask questions. You wanted changes without Ben present." "That's not how this works." "Or love." Mom snapped. "You don't get to lecture me." "I'm not," Rhea said. "I'm saying the truth out loud, so it isn't lonely later." Tess slid a glass of water toward me. "Small cares, everything I needed." Mom pivoted. "Maya, you resent your sister. You keep her small so you feel big." "I want Lena safe," I said. "I want Dad's choices respected. My home respected. And I want you to stop calling control concern." "I thought you'd be proud," Lena said. "Everyone came." "I'm not a kid." "You hosted a nightclub in my living room," I said. "You broke laws, then argued with cops like a teen who binged courtroom TV." She flinched. I panicked. "I know. I watched." Mom slapped the island. The croissants jumped. We posted bail. "You'll reimburse 5 grand. Today." "No. You're cruel." "I'm clear." She eyed the cameras. "Are you recording this?" "Yes." "Turn them off." "No, truth behaves better with witnesses." Fear flickered in her eyes. She looked at Dad. "You're really letting her do this?" "I'm letting her keep us legal," he said. "Please sit." She didn't. Heels carved angry maps across my floor. "You think I'm the enemy," she muttered. "I kept us moving when the engine blew. I made calls you wouldn't." "I believe you made calls," I said. "Some were right. This wasn't." She leaned in, perfume soft with a metallic edge. "You don't understand fear. 2 years ago, when Lena needed help, no one came. I swore it would never get that bad again. And you tried to fix it with my house dad's paperwork and a party invite," I said. "I understand fear. I just don't feed it with theft." Sun lit the lemon tree. No one spoke. "Here's what happens now," I said. "You and Lena are no trespass until I say otherwise. Locks change today. Step inside without written consent. I call the police. You will not pick up station items. Dad's documents get re-signed, re-notarized, and backed up 3 ways. Touch my title again, and I'll file an injunction. If you want to see me, request a time. I might say yes. I might say no." Mom's face went smooth, the dangerous kind. "You'd do that to your mother." "I'd do that for myself, for Dad, for Lena, because your bulldozing keeps her small." Lena's voice shrank. "So we're out. For now. You can come back when you can stand in my kitchen and say my name without laughing at it." She swallowed. "Dad," he took her hand. "I love you. I don't love what you did. Tell your mother what you want, not what she wants for you. I want you to be proud." Do things that make pride easy, he said, not loud. Mom lifted her purse. You've made your point. She eyed the cameras. Delete this. No. She didn't slam the door. That scared me more. Lena lingered. I'm sorry, she whispered. I wanted people to see me. I see you, I said. But I can't be your audience, your stage, and your cleanup crew. Pick one and not me. After they left, we got practical. Rhea called a notary. Tess drew a timeline. Dad handed me a beach photo of us mom in a hat, Lena Sandy at 2, me at 9, building a moat that held. Want to read the letter I asked? I wrote it for you, he said. Read it to me. We notarized that afternoon in Mr. Alvarez's sunny living room. Pink glasses, a stamp that thumped like a heartbeat, loudest good sound all week. At sunset, I brewed tea where a bar had been filed the blue folder in the safe and spun the dial until the click felt like a promise. Boundaries held, then wobbled. Mom texted blame, then asked for coffee under strict terms. She apologized for the party, slid a receipt canceling a law office inquiry, then later triggered another one. Dylan sent a cease and desist. The firm replied, client withdrew. I didn't need a detective to name the client. I kept ritual shoes by the mat keys in the bowl cameras on lemon tea. At dusk, no hot replies, everything in writing. Dad brought oranges and old photos. Your mother asked for couples therapy, he said. I said yes. Lena owned her mess, at work paid Mom back for bail, returned my spare key. Teach me the steady, she asked. I'll show you what I do, I said. You'll use your own hands. We wrote visiting terms. Mom sent white lilies for peace. I thanked her and added, please avoid lilies, they're toxic to cats. She said, noted. Then the phone rang. Dad, possible stroke. I grabbed the folder and ran. In the ER, Mom reached for the clipboard. I'll sign. The nurse looked at me. Do you have medical POA? Yes, it springs if he lacks capacity. I'm his wife, Mom said. And we're glad you're here, the nurse said. The neurologist will assess. We'll include you both. Dad squeezed my hand. Let Maya do forms, he told Mom. You hold my hand. Clot buster, consent, a careful yes. His eyebrows met again. A small miracle. Rehab. A better facility over a closer one. His letter said, choose outcomes. He named his walker Thunder. He told Mom to sit on her hands during therapy so she wouldn't lift his limbs for him. That didn't count. A week later, capacity intact. The POA went back to sleep. The safe clicked shut. We ate simple soup under new pictures covering patched holes. If you know where to look, the holes remain. The pictures are beautiful anyway. Happily ever after. Numb. We live forward. Mom still tests the fence. Smaller pushes, shorter texts. Lena backslides once and sends our code word, lemon. I text her list back, drink water, leave the room, turn the music off, breathe like soup. The cameras are boring. Mr. Alvarez gives weather like breaking news. The blue folder waits not a shrine or a sword, just paper that keeps its promise. People ask if calling the police on my sister was revenge. It wasn't. It was a boundary with a badge after words failed. If there's any revenge, it's keeping my home mine and teaching my nervous system the sky stays blue when I say no. Where's your front door? Not wood and lock, but the line that keeps you whole. If someone you love kicked it to make room for their party, would you call the cops? Or yourself first? Outside, the sky minds its business. Inside, I choose what stops at my threshold and what passes through. The house hums. The lemon tree learns rails. I set down my keys like starting a game. I finally know how to